Hey, welcome back to Matchball Grid. My name is Sanjay. How's it going? Welcome to the first ever OKORINA online tournament. Only kind of runner in New Angeles. Hopefully doing well. What's up, everyone? How's it going? Give me 1 second. I had to put my audio on a different thing, and now I don't know if the music's off. It sounds off now. Welcome! We have a tournament today starting in just about 10 minutes, and it's such an interesting tournament. I'm really excited to be here. What's up, everyone in chat? Pink, how's it going? You playing, Andre? Just commentating? We're just commentating today. We got 5 rounds of OKORINA tournament. If you don't know what that means, I'll explain it in a second. Just gonna say hi to everyone. Yo, Chris, ohio, how's it going? Also, Corey, yo, what up? Exactly. This is that weird thing. Pretty good chill morning, and then we figure some Gloomhaven 11, so I'll figure watch some Netrunner to that. Perfect. We got I imagine we have about like 6 hours of content today coming out starting now. So good luck to my voice. Pow, what's up? Hey, more live Netrunner during European hours. One of the better things to come out of this pandemic. glad there's some silver linings at least. How's it going? Yo, JC, what's up? How's it going? Parallel morning, how you doing? Jessica, so excited for this. How are you doing? I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. I'm also really excited. Arash, is this a Sanjay tournament? Exactly. What's up? Parallel says we had a draft league playoffs yesterday, which was fun. Now I can't wait for what wild things we may see here. We're going to say some wild stuff. Maui, how you doing? Sunday Grid. Whoop, whoop. Also, JC, it's Ilks Forbin. Oh, yo, what up? Welcome to the Twitch side. Or YouTube side, excuse me. So proud of the Jane and Devs for creating commands for this tournament. Yes, it is going to be good. Rob, this is going to be good. Good fun. Good luck. Have fun, man. I know you're playing. Is anybody else in chat playing? Also, howdy, Andre Stoppable. What's up? Excited for a gullet? Much more smoothly than trying to do it manually. Yes, it is really cool. So this is the OKORINA tournament. We got a bit of time to explain it, but don't worry if you drop it anytime later. We'll explain it again and again. The only kind of runner in New Angeles. This is a play on the flavor text of Kati Jones, and Kati Jones herself might not be exactly in this tournament, but here's what the idea is. This is being run by Sanjay, who is kind enough to let us stream this. We have 5 rounds. Sanjay is on Discord running everything. I think it was advertised originally as being 4 rounds cut to top 4, but we're doing 5 rounds instead, and we have a lot of players today. We're looking right now at about 28 players, if not exactly 28 players, so we're gonna see some wild things. Sanjay even showed me like what the spread of the identities look like, and it is pretty diverse, but I can't talk about that right now because it's not public just yet. The idea of this tournament is it's basic Netrunner rules, nothing too wild besides identities in the game. There are no more identities in this game. The idea is instead of choosing an identity when you start as a runner or corp, you choose either a connection if you're playing the runner, and an agenda if you're playing as the corp. And basically what happens is your identity is replaced by that agenda or connection. You get the text box on that identity. On the corp side, you get the text box and you get the when scored ability, I'm pretty sure as well. And then you're off to the races. You still have to build a legal deck based on that faction. There's a couple side rules. Firstly, different identities and different resources and different connections and different agendas have different minimum deck sizes and maximum influences. Sanjay has invented these himself with some testing. Now, this is going to be an iterative process. This is the first OKORINA tournament. That's very important to understand. So hopefully, if some of these numbers are way off, link as well, we'll be figuring that over over time. Same thing for the corp. You have your minimum deck sizes, maximum influence, your subtypes, all that stuff is really good and exciting. The only other rule is for whatever connection or whatever agenda you replace your identity with, you can't put that card in your deck, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty confident about that. And we are following the same ban and restricted list of standard Nisei tournament. Besides, currents are gone. No currents. Woo! And Rebirth and DJ Fenris are banned. So you're not going to be able to change your identity or gain another identity ability. So you're really relying on what you are playing right now. We're playing with also the legal current card pool. So you're not going to see any of the older connections. And I think that's it. I think that's the entire explanation. We're going to start in 5 minutes. Let me catch up on chat. I hope I nailed that. I did not rehearse. How's it going, everyone? Hacker Girl, what's up? I'm playing. Hell yeah. Good luck, huh? Drink plenty of water. I think you will. Yo, Vesper, how's it going? Damn, choice and Netrunner of Apex Legends Zero Finals. Ooh, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. Hey, I only have one semi-functioning brain. Yeah, you know scarcity? Yeah, parallel. No, scarcity is a big deal. Luckily, you got to start with a connection installed, basically, so it's a bit different. Improved Protein Source being the only 40-card deck is actively helps the runner. Yeah, exactly. That's the trade-off on Improved Protein Source, which starts the runner at 9 credits. Current system pre-pandemic. This tournament should be fun. Grim, how's it going? This tournament seems to be really wild. And largely what it is, besides the whole current thing, is basically having an entire new suite of abilities, basically new identities. A lot of new identities. Like here on the corp side, we're looking at about like 35 new identities you can play at. The runner, it's a bit shorter because there's not that many options, admittedly. And I think some of the mini factions don't have too compelling options, but I'm pretty sure we have representation from the mini factions. But that's pretty exciting. I think there's also a lot of interesting building options, and not like for some of these, the way I see it, it's not just like, oh, that's a cool new identity. For a lot of them, it's like, whoa, that's a real new thing you can build around, right? Like it's one thing when you start the game, or sorry, when you find Theophilius Bagbiter in your deck and install it. It's another thing when you can start as Theophilius Bagbiter. There's some really wild stuff in here. Of course, class act, it's just good, and probably a lot of people will play that in criminal, but you can see some pretty wild stuff. I think there are some rulings, again, in this box, talking about some erratas and clarifications. There's also, if you go to the OKORINA link, which you can find on Always Be Running, that takes you to StimHack. There's some other the rules things about things that are banned. And it's not all the agendas. Some things are banned. But basically that's it, and it's really exciting. This is nuts. Yo, Vincent, this is gonna be really cool. I'm really excited. Again, I can't spoil it just yet, but I did see a rundown, a preliminary rundown of registered players, what factions they're playing as, and we're gonna see a lot of different stuff, especially on the corp side. It's pretty wild. And Terrace, what's up? Jumon is banned? Jumon is banned. Yeah, I haven't actually looked at the banned list. That's a good point. Fire weaponization, yeah, it seems good. Remote enforcement means that the runner will start with no cards, which is pretty bad. Government takeover is just kind of busted. Jumon is admittedly a bit busted, so they're stopping that. On the runner, it's just Aaron Moran, but yeah, I don't think anyone's excited about that. And that's largely it. Remote enforcement, that's pretty good too. Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be some cool stuff. Puppet Master playable. Wayne, how's it going? I think Puppet Master has actually, it's a really strong ability. I think Puppet Master becomes something similar but better in some ways to Tenon Institute. But I think you have some real big plays. I think if you're playing Puppet Master, you could do like Biotic Labor into Red Planet Couriers and score out a single Beal and win the whole game. You're going to end up spending a lot of influence on those combo pieces, and I don't even think the ice needs to be advanceable. Does Puppet Master only stay on an ice that can't be advanced? Probably. It's an older card. Yeah, so then you need just advanceable ice, and NBN used to have advanceable ice, didn't they? No, they didn't, do they? But I'm really excited to see this. We're live in about 2 minutes. G1's so bad. It's so sad. I think it'll probably be okay. Can you go back to the band IDs a second? Yeah, we totally can. I almost played Puppet Master. What are you playing, Hacker? Blackwing Bird, what's up? I just learned how to play. Excited to watch this format. Yo, welcome to the chat. I'm so glad that you found your way over here. It's going to be wild. We're going to try and explain everything. Cool thing, huge shout outs to Noah. I believe it's Noah and the JNet devs. So this is not super clumsy. They actually built a command so you can replace your identity with a card of choice. So you're going to be able to see their resource or their connection or their agenda on the table in gentechie.net. So it's not going to even be like super weird to look at. A huge shout out to the JNet team. You're playing Transport Monopoly. Why? Oh, don't spoil it if you need to spoil it. I guess Transport Monopoly is okay. It's like Crisium Grids, right? The game is more enjoyable when both players have hands is the funniest thing. Oh yeah, re-educational. Yeah, that's a really good point, Sanjay. Now, do we have prize support today? This is actually very interesting because this is the first OKORINA tournament. And sure, at the end of the day, you might find out that some of these abilities are really strong. Maybe the ad ability. I think there's a chance that this rebranding team, it might be a bit broken in this format, but we will figure out what's good and maybe what needs more deck size or less influence or more influence and stuff like that. But one of the biggest deals is after our 5 rounds today, the top 4 players, and I think also if you're tied for positioning with the 4th players, you're counted into this, but basically the top players of this tournament, their prize is that they can choose any agenda or any connection in Netrunner or Netrunner from rotated cards, and it will be added to the format, which is really exciting because we'll be doing more tournaments like this, or Sanjay is going to be running more tournaments like this, and so we'll see the meta evolve. Like, will Kati Jones eventually be a card that you can play as an identity. I think if you do choose a neutral agenda or a neutral resource, and this is really interesting, when you pick that as your prize support, as something that now everybody can play, you have to give it a faction. So if somebody wins and chooses Kati Jones, they have to choose to make Kati Jones like a shaper or a criminal, and then that'll be the new shaper or criminal faction. Same with like maybe SSL endorsement will turn out to be like a Wayland agenda at some point. I think it's pretty nutty, and I'm really excited. Couldn't you single advance NGO Puppet Master for 1 extra advancement and fire because the runner before the runner accesses? I don't even know what Puppet Master says. I think Puppet Master says you have to put it on ice, so I don't think so. Oh, it's just a card. It's when they make a successful run. So I would have to look at the timing chart. Actually, I don't know. I don't know whether the run is considered successful after 4.3, which means you wouldn't have time to res it. Does anybody know? I'd have to look at the timing chart and pull that up. Ordinary Hacker says you can. Tug to Gut says you cannot, there's no window. That's what I think. Yo, what's up, Tug? Asgrew, how's it going? I think there isn't a window. Because I think the run is successful at 4.3, which is after everyone's said they can't do anything. Not on NGO, yeah. I'm super hooked on Slay the Spire. Was actually playing it while watching your stream from Thursday. Now I have to check out Monster Train. Anybody, please check out Monster Train. It's really, really good. Choose an agenda from WTC Netrunner. Oh boy. I think it would be good for traps. Yeah, it'd be really good for traps. I think, but Puppet Master, you can't, there's no window to put on traps. If I'm not mistaken. You can put it on ice. You can put it on traps that are not running. Like if they run R&D, you can put it on a trap in the remote. But I think if you just put this on ice, you have a really good Red Planet Couriers. It's 102. Are we on? Good, thanks. Looking forward to watching this madness. I am so stoked. Okay, I need to just catch up on, yeah, it looks like the tables are starting. We're going to just jump into this. We're starting. We're off. Sanjay is going to be dropping in to do some commentary as well once things are rolling. But he is doing a lot of work setting up. So table 1, this is table 1000. This is Aaron versus Jester. We want to watch that one. There's some really good tables here. Lost Geek versus Rob. A lot of names that you might recognize both from this stream, but also from like playing good competitive Netrunner. So I think we're going to start here. I don't know what they're playing. Login. Oh, yeah, right. I thought there was a password on this thing. But we're going to jump right in. Heinzel, what's up? It works on traps. Access is after the successful run. Actually? That's a surprise to me. Come on, Aaron. Yeah. It's representing Canada. Let's go. CTZ is on Jack Sinclair. Get out. Well, they're playing Wayland, it seems. You can see the identities. I'm imagining we'll see probably a lot of Criminal, a lot of Anarch. Shaper's a bit interesting. Okay, we need to see the access step of run. Timing structure of a run, Netrunner. I spelled that properly. It's fine. I'll know what I want. 2 of my local meta people ended up paired against each other. There's a lot of people playing today. It's 28 players. It's great. So when's the run considered successful? The run's considered successful? No, so there shouldn't be a trigger here because 4.3 is your last, and then at 4.4 the run is considered successful, and there's no more paid ability windows. So I don't think you can do it with Puppet Master. The last time is 4.3 when you say, do you want to access? And they commit to the access, and then you can do your paid and res, and then it's successful. Yo, Buzz, a happy Sunday as well. Oh man, am I going to have to have CTZ and Metropole up at once? Oh, are they streaming on the San Francisco side, their games? All right, so here we're seeing Wizard and Acme Consulting. That doesn't matter because they're going to be switching their identities pretty soon, and we'll see what they're playing as. Because there is a command that the JNet devs have added to let you change your identities, so... shoutouts to them for supporting this. Apparently we're really excited about this format as well. Also, it's worth noting that Aaron and Jester are in voice comms together or a Discord chat, so they might actually be talking to one another. We're not going to see that, so if it seems pretty quiet in here, that's why you know. Puppet Master plus Junebug works, but not NGO. Oh yeah, with traps it would work, right? Because you just put it on it. But NGO doesn't work because you had to res fire. Yeah, that's totally worth knowing. So anything that needs a paid ability to be able to get effect from it, it doesn't work. But you're right, Junebag, Ghost Branch works because you just put the counter on it and then they access, and there's no like res NGO. Yeah, totally. Oh man, gotta catch a stream. Hello. Yo, Randuin TCG. Randuin, excuse me, TCG. How's it going? Welcome. So Aaron, going for AR enhanced security, replacing their agendas. So the first time the runner trashes a corp card, give them a tag. Important to know because it's not going to say on the cards what trade-offs you had to make for that ability. If I'm not mistaken, AR enhanced security only has 7 influence. Yeah, so this CTM-ish CTM, stronger than CTM in some cases, but weaker in others because the second one, No, whatever. It's 7 influence, so a bit less than CTM's standard 45 card deck. We're going to see what Wizard morphs into. Come on, Aaron, I thought you were better than this. This is really exciting. Like, that's obviously a really strong ability. It's very comparable to controlling the message, albeit you do have less influence. You also know that they're not running multiple AR enhanced securities in their deck, so it's not going to snowball, but it probably is a similar deck to CTM. I feel like you can play the lockdown pretty well, but deck slots might be an issue. CTM decks on influence, what are they spending it on? A lot of times it's like Bankers Group, I guess sometimes food. Kill packages. So we'll see what win condition Aaron is. On the other side, Jester is becoming Paige Piper, a really strong ability to start your game off with, and this is such a strong deck thinning ability. Now, a lot of Anarchs can run 3 of the same card and not care too much about it. Cards like, you know, they're Breakers, Paperclip, MK Ultra. There's some other interesting choices. You can install like Ramagen, Reliant, BMI, whatever that card is called, and get 6 of them out on a single install. And this can really thin your deck. The deck is a 45 card minimum. Let's go check what the influence is like. But if you want to play something a bit like combo-y, like Fear the Masses, you can get to that pretty quickly by every time you install, it takes 3 cards out of your deck. Pretty bad against net damage or damage-based decks, which I don't know how prevalent they're going to be. I don't think any of the new identities really sing that well into straight net damage, but this is a May ability, so you're not forced into it, and they're off, and just as you thought, install Advance Advance. Let me just check how much influence we got on Paige Piper. It's good to know. Paige is standing at 45-17, so a lot of cool deck thinning for sure. I think it might have been bad to pick Wizard because the game might be offering over and over again to use these recurring credits. We'll figure out pretty soon. But 3 remotes, we're off to the races. Daystream Hail, is the Wiz up there? What's going on here? Donald, this is... Woo! Turn 1 diversion. Aaron has a chance to res things, and res things they will. So pad campaign coming up, Maryland campaign coming up. That's a lot of money coming in. So this diversion of funds is going to be 5 influence and only have that 2 credit swing, which is still not that bad. You could choose to get an access there if you'd like. Donald, this is OKORINA. You might want to check out on Netrunner, always be running, but basically you replace your identities with either a connection or an agenda, and you get that ability instead. You get unique users for your ID for the runner. You get an agenda as your ID for the corp, as Heinzel says, yeah. That's such a good start. Dodging the siphon, which I don't think you're expecting. Amakua coming down. Rashida is off. 4 cards, 3 credits. We have the Penn campaign. We have the Maryland campaign ticking away, and Aaron up on 6 credits. Now, I'm assuming this has to be hard-hitting news deck. It seems like a CTM type thing, so keeping your money up with Jester is really important. And that Amakua will probably go pretty far. You got a lot of remotes you want to check, and if you don't trash them, at least you're going to get an Amakua counter, which can get through most of the ice. At this point, it has to be a unique connection into yours. Yes, exactly. All connections are unique, aren't they? Setting up here is probably important. You want to get the credits up. We'll see if there's any actual like asset tech you could be running. Any sort of recurring credits, any sort of economy matters a lot in this opening game. I'm imagining that Aaron has to be running MUMBAD virtual tours, so there are some really scary what's it called, accesses. And I think, yeah, it looks like an Amakua was removed with Paige Piper's ability when 1 was installed. Now that means Jester either doesn't have 3 or the second one is in hand. Or the third one, excuse me. Aaron, we're going to have to zoom out a lot on this one. But Aaron resing a MUMBAD virtual, MUMBAD temple. Can use those credits to res other things, but not opting to, which is interesting, and just installing some other cards. Wanton Destruction coming down. A single ice on HQ probably can res that for nearly free if it's something like an IP block, a gold farmer. This doesn't necessarily end the run, but actually Jester doesn't have the 6 credits to get through this. So going to force the runner to spend their Mamba Temple, or the corp to spend their Mamba Temple to get the gold farmer off, and knows what they need to get through. If they just had 1 counter on the Amakua, that might have gone through right there. 2 cards on the server. Jester just made a run, so is a bit weak to hard-hitting news if they have it. Not having the money to clear all 4 tags. Will clear 3 at best next turn, going down to 0. And Amakua getting the access on R&D. No trash, no steal, 1 token. And again, the first time a card is trashed, you have to take a tag. I don't know if Jester is going to have the economy to be able to remove those tags. Resing a daily business show for 2 credits. Maryland and Pad still coming in. Hedge fund in the deck. That's good tech against that mining accident, and there you go, hard-hitting news off the top. Now, Jester, if they don't have any tricks, no deuces wild, they can probably clear 3 tags. Staying with 1 tag isn't that big of a deal when you don't actually have resources installed. Closed accounts won't matter when you're down to 0, but it's going to make it really hard for the rest of the game. Going in for Maker's Eye, looks like they're just hoping that there's no boom or a high profile target in hand. And it might be actually a bit harder to keep meat damage protection in a deck with only 7 influence. And we've already seen some with the Maryland campaigns. So this could just be a psychographics, stealing a 15 minutes off the top of the deck. Amaku had 1. 4 credits, 4 tags. This might be their last turn. Aaron is going to get the filter draw with Daily Business Show as well, so the chance of finding punishment is a bit higher than normal, especially when you know they're not drawing the 15 minutes. We don't know what 5 and 7 is. Oh, Street Peddler is it? Oh, yeah, right. Street Peddler is non-unique. That's true. Mama Temple resing a free sponsorship. 2 sponsorships. It's a good time to get that 15 minutes scored. We're going to shuffle back the Maryland campaign, shuffling the deck, disrupting a bit of the Daily Business Show, and we'll see if Aaron has a punishment. Draw. It looks like Jester knows they're safe here. Still has another turn to clear a couple tags. Icing up R&D. I would guess that with 7 influence, Aaron doesn't have meat damage and needs to find another way to close the game. Things like market forces, closed accounts, exchange of information, psychographics, all that good stuff would probably work. Second I've had worse coming through. Now, Paige Piper's ability hasn't fired a lot, and the big issue is there's just not enough money to install those cards. I think we've had 1 fire so far, but 17 influence at the end of the day is still pretty good. 4 tags, only 4 credits. If you go tag me, that's kind of one of the nice things, is that the ability doesn't matter. It's slightly turned off. That's not entirely true, obviously. Psychographics cares about how many tags you have. If you have up to 13, that could just be a 1 agenda score to win the game. Jester actually going to start removing the tags down to 3 tags here, but the economy is not going to really recover. It's really hard here. A lot of the Anarch economy is tied up in cards like liberated accounts, daily, what's it called? Daily casts, and those are resources. You can't keep those around. Aaron go for that triple Jeeves-like install. 3 more cards on the table. Easily could be an agenda here, forking Jester between running and removing the tags. Mumbid Virtual Tour, again, very mean in this. Force this to trash. Lose 5 credits. You want to access with fewer than 5. And Jester just going to remove 2 tags, clicking for 2 credits, only on a single tag. Now they're safe to boom, if boom does exist in the deck. Psychographics doesn't do really much for 1 tag, and we're resing a Maryland campaign for free. Daily's Business Show still chugging along, and it looks like we have advance. Probably a Beal. It's just a quantum predictive model. That's a 1-pointer. Quantum predictive model, a lot of times it means we're going to be looking at things like Data Raven, probably exchange of information as punishment. So far, we've seen a couple 1-pointers. You combine that with some 3-pointers, you got some good plays here. Puemo coming down, mind you, we did have 2 fires on team sponsorships, installing Rashida Yahim from Archives and an unknown from HQ. Puemo coming down to try and grind out some value in the next 2-3 turns, removing the last tag. Jester down on 1 credit. No tags. Rashida firing. Mamba Temple resing a second Daily Business Show. Aaron is so far ahead on board state. If there's not an apocalypse coming in the next couple turns, I have no idea how Jester could possibly catch up to this. Let me just adjust my microphone. This might be annoyingly loud. Install advance in server 13. If this is not a Bologna, I don't know what this is. The NGO front usually doesn't find its way into these sort of decks. And Bologna, you need 5 credits to steal. Jester not very threatening that happening outside of a stim hack. And if that does happen, I imagine the C-source into the exchange of information is online. We have a Keiko coming down for 2 credits, getting that companion refund on itself. Throwing out the second Keiko, that's pretty good, or 2 more Keikos, and getting the Puemo out. Okay, we're seeing a couple more Paige Piper fires, that's pretty cute. But on 0 credits, I don't know what you're gonna do. Resing a second Maryland for free. Aaron just absolutely plugging away here. Daily Business Show looking at 3 cards. Bury 2 on the bottom of your deck. Keep 1 in hand. It looks like if Aaron is going to be scoring out this Bologna, well, they don't actually have to discard cards. There you go. That's a Bologna score. Gain 5 credits. They can install the Rashida from Archives, but they can also install cards from HQ. So it's Rashida and an Ice from HQ. And that's probably going to let Aaron draw into the final agenda they need to close the game out. Jester is on the ropes here. Single piece of ice and server 14. Again, a tour guide is only 2 influence, right? That could easily be where some of the influence in this deck goes. We've seen so far 4. I'm assuming we're playing 3 Maryland, 3 team sponsorships. Maybe there's Jeeves in there. That doesn't put you at influence for tour guide. Maybe this is just whatever NBN can play. Ares must be broken in this format. I don't think it's that much stronger than a CTM, to be honest. And then you can't play more Ares, and you'll have 7 influence. So I don't know if it's broken. It's definitely good. I think this is just like CTM-esque stuff. Kati coming down, removing other Katis with Paige Piper. Aaron gonna draw 4 cards plus minus DBS filter draws, getting all the money in from Marilyn and Pat and friends. Looking at 30 credits as Pink Ice. Install advance here is probably the play. Oh, not even. Install advance install. I'm not sure what that would be. Is this matchup just better CTM versus worse Wizard? Yeah, largely. You'd rather have Hashiko in this matchup than Paige Piper, let alone Wizard if you could. Just trying to scrape some money together. Kati Jones, Trickster Taka. There's a Res of a Jeeves, and that's exactly the card that you need to be able to end the game here on server 14. Triple advance, getting that 4th advance with Jeeves' Byroid ability, and that's double Bologna. Aaron gonna close that out relatively quickly. That's turn 10. That's kind of like Wayland rush times, right? And you saw Jester just didn't get the economy up. I'm not sure if they have that money in their deck besides the spicy diversion of funds that didn't really go off with 3 agendas or 3 assets on the table. What they look like, that's unlikely to get full value. And Kati Jones, no liberated, no daily casts, only a single gamble, no dirty laundry. Like, it's no surprise that they struggled to keep up on the table. All right, we're off in game 2. I wonder what Aaron's running. Really good commentary. Oh, thank you. Glad you like it. AR Enhanced feels very, very good as an ID. I don't think it's much better than CTM. Well, the thing is, like, it's different than CTM. CTM is a trace, which matters for some people. Hoshiko, like, they can pay 3 to remove the tag clicklessly. But also, it's important to know that the tag cannot be avoided in CTM. And in this one, it can. So if you wanted to tech in cards like, what's it? I don't know. What's that one called? That's the criminal one that avoids all tags. That's a restricted card. Like, that one's a bit more playable now because criminal can't play corporate grant because, again, there are no currents. Ooh, Los versus Blue Sun. This is an interesting matchup. Oh, wait, never mind. I just got excited. I forgot what format we're playing. It's Miss Bones. Who's playing Bones? Aaron is playing Bones. Woo! You can start with 12 credits to trash things. That's basically like a mini wizard. I think Aaron kind of expected there to be some asset spam and prepared for the corp that they themselves brought. On the other side, Blue Sun is going to become Transport Monopoly, which is a new Nisei agenda. It says basically you start with 2 counters on here. You can use the counters to make runs to be considered unsuccessful. Why is that good? It will prevent replacement effects. Cards like Diversion of Funds, Maker's Eye, all cards that actually Jester was playing themselves in their own deck. It's interesting how both these players basically tech their decks against themselves, which is good. Cool thing about this matchup, though, is we can zoom in a bit, so the cards will be a bit more legible. I also, here, 1 second. Yeah, it's probably a bit nicer. All right, and we're off to the races. Transport Monopoly, icing up HQ. We're seeing, again, this is a legitimate criminal. Let's see how much influence Bones has. I imagine it's a standard 15. Bones is sitting on 4515 Gmod, nothing too special, and on Transport Monopoly 4517. So this ability has 17 credits. Talk about a run event that doesn't care about successful run. We're going to bravado straight into a quicksand. An interesting card, I don't think more relevant in this format than any other, but this is going to be a scaling barrier. This is really cool against things like Turning Wheel that get built up anywhere you want to expect a lot of runs. And it looks like Aaron is just going to be setting up a bit. Earthrise Hotel, get a bit of money, see the lay of the land a bit with bravado, and they're off. Ratash, what's up? But some CTM decks could play QPM instead of Ares. Yeah, there's a lot of CTM decks that only ran 1 Ares, if none, so that's true. Dorm Computer, thank you. That's the card you could play. All right, jamming into remote here. Now, Criminal's pretty good modernly at getting through a single piece of ice. Of course, you have the inside jobs of Yor and all the friends that do things like that, but we also have Boomerang. Falsified Credentials, getting asset on this remote is a Rashida Yahim. Jester going to go for that snap res after. That play is generally considered pretty okay. I don't think you want to falsify this twice. You probably can get more value later, but there's no reason not to. And with only 6 credits to name, Aaron is going to force Jester to put their money where their mouth is and actually charge the remote. I imagine they're going to end up spending around 3 to 4 credits resing this ice, which is pretty good because then they can consider running HQ. And talk about 3 to 4 credits. 3 credits going to go into this Mouseless with the credit refund. Doing the net damage hits the pad tap. Obviously, you'd love to have that down before you ran. And they're going to give a tag out, which kind of matters with the Earthrise. You are going to get through and trash the Rashida, though. So Jester's going to struggle a bit for money. Mouseless, not the best ice you want on the remote server unless you can go ahead and triple advance it. So it will end the run. And there you go. There's a second pad tap. So if Jester's going to look for any econ play outside of click for credits, Aaron's going to benefit from that as well. Cody, what's up? It's going to be fun to watch. I'm super excited for this format. We got to pull up the distribution of identities. It's absolutely buck wild. We're going to try and make it so we see something different every round. Digital rights management. You can pull an agenda, pulling a hostile takeover. You can't score it this turn, though. Does Jester know that? Does Jester know that? Oh, no. You can't score it. Oh, that's not good. This could be the ultimate bluff, but look, if Aaron runs through this remote, they take a tag and a net damage, they gain a credit, and this could be a hostile. Now with 0 credits, this actually could be a trap, right? Like this could be a Junebug if they get the credit off the mouse list. They'll have the credits to fire Junebug. But yeah, DRM means you can't score it. This is a wild bluff. If it's an NGO, it would be amazing. This would be so buck wild if it's an NGO. And Aaron's going to take the bait here. Pad tap gains a credit off of the mouseless fire, going to take a net damage and tag, hitting the mining accident. I think that's something Aaron would love to have been playing right now, considering how poor Jester's money is right now. But it's not even a bluff, just the hostile takeover. Jester might have forgotten that you can't score off the DRM. Aaron feeling pretty comfortable, up about 6 credits with a pad tap and Earthrise coming through. Just wants to draw up a wee bit to make sure that they can continue to contest the board. That's a Cerebral. Yeah, Cerebral's 3 to fire though, unfortunately. Gamble into second Earthrise into daily cast. We're just talking about good criminal stuff here. And mind you, Miss Bones so far 1 credit of value. You trashed that Rashida for free. And Miss Bones is only, this is actually pretty wild though. Miss Bones is only on installed cards. And that's a wild difference to other things like Scrubber or Wizard, is that if you're running R&D or HQ, you don't get the value from this. The cards have to be installed. Install advanced events on the remote. What does this really threaten? It looks like either an NGO front, another hostile takeover. Most 5-3s can be scored here. A 4-2 definitely could. So we'll see. And I think Aaron's probably good to let this go through. If it's a bad publicity, they'll get it anyways. But hey, NGO front. Gaining a credit for Aaron. 8 for Jester. Hitting into that second mouseless, the tag. The tag, the net damage, and the credit as well. Hitting an inside job from Aaron's hand. Single axis here is a shipment from Tenon. Ooh, so now we see where that spice comes in from. This is a fast events deck. Shipment from Tenon lets you score out 3 2s, 3 1s even in theory. And the idea with shipment from Tenon is you can't play it unless the runner didn't make any successful runs. And we're talking about transport monopoly. So if it's click 3 or specifically click 4 and they're making a run, you can always make the run count as unsuccessful for shipment for Tenon will have some legs. That's some pretty cool synergy. The turning wheel is building up. Now, a lot of times, if you want to just close the game on your own terms, you want to just run a central server, HQ or R&D specifically, and just get the run to end to build up them turning wheel counters. And you could do that on Quicksand, but luckily Quicksand has a bit of a counter to that. Ngolo coming down, again, that's a restricted card. It's very interesting to see what criminals will be playing which restricted cards, considering corporate grant and all currents are not legal in this format. So I imagine we'll see a fair few things like Ngolo, a very expensive but flexible breaker that allows early aggression with the installation of just a single card. Running HQ again, building up the turning wheel, spending a lot for that run. Like the credit pool has entirely shifted. 2 to Aaron for 13 for Jester. I'm assuming Aaron at this point does not think that this is going to be a hard-hitting news, punitive, anything like that. It looks like it's just a bit more of a fast events, bit of a rushy deck. Again, we're also on 17 influence, kind of like Titan. So you do have influence for biotic labors and maybe other fast events tricks besides the shimmer from 10 and maybe even Tricholite, stuff like that. In server 1, install, advance. We got a bit of a pause here. Undo click, that's why. So now we know that card is advanceable. We're gonna consulting visit? What? For hard-hitting news, hey, speak of the devil. Aaron not respecting those credit differentials. Thinking this might just be fast events, but now ending up with 4 tags. They do have 4 credits now coming in with the daily casts. So I think the best they can do here outside of Deuce's Wild is clear 2 tags. Sec testing coming down. I think if you clear 2 tags, you still die to most anything. Well, I guess you need to be killed by a double high-profile target. But if a boom here is just straight lethal, no beat damage protection, Jester on 8 credits. Might have it. Played a consulting visit. They might have 2. And they just need a consulting visit or boom. They have this 4 to 6 credits necessary to end the game here. Oof. Can I get a link to the rules? Oh, thank you. Sanjay, what's up? Oh, Sanjay posted. Sanjay, are you pinging me on thing yet? I didn't check in a bit. Yeah. Can come stream. Okay, cool. We're gonna have Sanjay drop in. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna make a call to Sanjay. This might be a short round. Oh, Sanjay pinged like 15 minutes ago and I missed it. Ooh, no death just yet, but we have a turning wheel getting trashed, so it looks like they're not going to die to meat damage, but Jester's going to take some time to clear the board out. Give me 1 second, we'll pipe Sanjay into this call. Clear the board out. Give me 1 second, we'll... Hey Sanjay, can you hear me? I can't hear you just yet, 1 second.
Hey. Oh, I can't hear you, can I?
We did a test on this and it worked before the call. We'll figure this out.
I don't know.
Oh, I think this is off. Hold on. You probably can all hear Sanjay.
Oh, okay.
I didn't turn my headset on.
I cannot hear
Classic.
you.
Sanjay, what's up?
Yeah. Wonderful.
Oh, fantastic. This works.
Cool. What game are we in?
This is round 2 of game 1. Just to give you a lay of the land, we saw the other side of this. So Aaron played the other side and was playing basically like a CTM sort of thing, having that 7 influence with the AR enhanced security. And we're now on the flip side of the table. Aaron ended up a bit tagged, not dead. And now Jester is playing some sort of fast advance. We've seen Shipman from Tenons working pretty good with Transport Monopoly and scoring out that Atlas with a token on it. So fast advance is alive and well.
Oh yeah, I was watching a little bit on the stream, and the Shipman from Tenon and Transport Monopoly synergy is super cute. I'm very enamored with that idea.
So Sanjay, okay. Chat is saying Sanjay. First, they're saying hi, Sanjay, and then your volume's a bit low. Oh. I think I might have fixed it. Can you introduce yourself though, for those who don't know what's going on?
I'll monologue a little bit. So I'm Sanjay. I live in Boswash in Delaware. I put this tournament together. It's been something I've wanted to do for a while, and I am thrilled that it's happening. And I'm really honored that all these people are willing to try it out.
Yo, this is so exciting. So far, everybody in chat's been like as excited as I think both of us are about the format, just to see so much like wild stuff happening all at one spot.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of like, one of the tough things with Netrunner, and I'm glad that I'm not making a lot of like MWL decisions, is that I think things being degenerate is fun for a bit.
Yeah.
And so I guess the hope is that we keep tweaking, the numbers, we keep tweaking stuff so that every time it's exciting and it's the Wild West, but also we don't keep on seeing the same absolutely busted thing that I forgot to give fewer influence to.
And that's a big idea. It's like, this is iterative. In the next OKORINA, like if there's anything that's totally out of line, I imagine you'll take your best shot at rectifying that.
Yeah, one thing I just did not think about is that successful field test. I actually had a judge call. The first judge call I had was, wait, does this actually work like that? Because one of the things is that you get to do successful field test, and then there's a res window before beginning of turn effects.
Okay.
And that's kind of silly. Like, you can throw out your whole hand, fire Rashida on turn 1, which is disgusting. And I did not think of that when I was assigning influence. And I'm not saying that successful field test is the most busted ID in this format, but
sure.
I just didn't account for it.
Yeah, there's some interactions I think we're going to see. I think you wrote a ruling on AdBlitz that, like, I don't fully agree with. Is anybody playing Rebranding Team? Because I think AdBlitz is broken.
Oh, what's the ruling?
So the idea with AdBlitz is that you pay X to res amount of assets, and I think you said something about like advanced assembly lines, you can recycle them forever, right?
You can. Well, not forever, up to X. You can recycle
exactly.
them next time.
But I thought you had to pay X, which is equal to amount of installables in archives, and that number you have to pay it once and it has to be there. Like, you can't pay 9 when there's only 7 in archives?
Apparently not.
Really?
Yeah, because you have to have an installable either in HQ or archives, because you have to be able to change the game state.
Okay.
But apparently X,
you could overpay.
Yeah, you can overpay for X.
Buck wild. Okay, never mind. Yeah. Okay, I think that's a strong one. Do you know if anyone's playing Rebranding Team?
There's one person on Rebranding Team. Yeah.
We'll see if we can find them.
Yeah, which makes me happy, because I was worried that we'd be just like overrun with rebranding combo, making everybody miserable. But there's one person on it.
Awesome.
I'll let you know who they are,
cool.
so you can track them out.
just to get back into the game, because we stepped away for a bit, things have changed a fair bit. So last we saw here, at least that we were talking about it, Aaron kind of dipped low on credits getting an access after installing Ngolo. And Ngolo, as a restricted card, we're going to see a lot more interesting restricted cards, I think, in Criminal with the non-existence of corporate grant now. But now money has stabilized. Aaron did end up going tag me after a hard-hitting Newsland, and I think only lost a turning wheel because of it. Now Jester's up on 19 credits comfortably. The train is going through. They only need to score 2 more agendas to pull this out, and Aaron is still trying to crawl in to get those accesses without any multi-access. Only has a hostile to their name. Falsified credentials, seeing an SDS drone deployment in server 1. I'm not sure you want to lose your restricted 4 influence in Golo for that, so if they want to run server 1, they can't be playing Film Critic. They probably don't have imp or any sort of destruction effects, so they really need to just install a program and get in there, and I think they definitely can get in there. Yeah, there's no reason they can't get in there. They can get through 2 pieces of ice. One's the code gate. They just need to kind of throw something out. Now the question is whether they're scared that Jester can go and actually score an SDS drone deployment. And there's the big altar. I think that big altar is going to be kind of thrown onto the sacrifice altar.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see SDS drone deployment in this list because just from the cards we saw already, I thought this would be a more like rushy, fast advancey type agenda suite. This is a fascinating threat, and I think it's kind of just unfortunate for Infinite Jester that Aaron was able to peek at it, because I would have not I would not have guessed that was SDS drone deployment.
Yeah. Especially with no advancements. And this is also like a really big deal. Aaron is now having to interact on last click, which means that if you want to use a transport monopoly counter here, Archer luckily does have the big altar. I guess Ngolo actually gets through it pretty cheaply, I would imagine. But the idea is that running last click, you can use the transport monopoly token to make sure this run isn't considered successful, which gives you a window to shipment from 10 and out, which I believe we know Jester has in hand.
Yeah, I think another thing with this deck is that it's like this is not Titan, so you want to get some Atlas tokens. So
yeah,
the agenda suite I am very curious about, because I one of the things that's very interesting with Shipment and Tenon is that it's a great fast advance enabler, but it's also just a giving the runner threats that they didn't realize they were facing enabler. Because you can say, oh, you thought this was a 5/3. Oh, you thought this was going to be an Atlas without a counter. It's actually an Atlas with a counter. Those are all big jokes to play on the runner that they don't like to have sprung on them.
Also, like, I really like this agenda. So yeah, they're paying a lot for this. We haven't seen a stim hack or anything, or even we saw an inside job get trashed earlier. I imagine you'd love to inside job this remote server, but. Yeah, you see the ice that like Jester's playing specifically on the fact that they don't want these successful runs all the time. Like Data Raven, really annoying. Eventually, Quicksand becomes a big problem. You don't want to run for like fun against a Quicksand. Mouseless is annoying enough, but like keeping the runner out, ensuring there's not a successful run every turn is quite possible with this really annoying ice suite.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and if you pay enough through it, you just say, this is such a cool deck.
Yeah. Stall advance in the remote. We did go down. Like Jester did res the Archer, losing the hostile, so they're further away from game point. While Aaron is actually comfortably on game point. And the problem with SDS drone deployment is if you steal the last drone deployment, you don't care what program you trash if you've won the game.
Yeah, though because of the Shipment of Tenon in hand and the transport monopoly, this could be another SDS drone deployment.
Yes,
which
easily.
Is hilarious. And Aaron has to keep that in mind, though at the same time, she's not really in a position to contest a lot of stuff right now.
No. And like, even if Jester really wanted to commit to that plan, like Aaron would have to make 3 successful runs through the transport monopoly ability just to ensure that they don't lose their Ngolo. Or they also could obviously install another a program. But this is, that doesn't work. But most importantly, falsified credentials. This is a Project Atlas. It looks like it's going to be an Atlas with a counter. And if they don't run, a Shimon from 10 Atlas with a counter, maybe even?
Yeah, I guess the one downside here is that is a game-winning Atlas, and only Archer ends the run. But I think
it's not game-winning. I think that'd be 6.
Yeah, and fair enough. I think Aaron does not contest because we do not know what this outermost dice is.
Yeah, I would assume like border control is the worst case scenario there. I don't have the money to go through Archer twice, maybe let alone even once. But Shimon from Tenon just to get 2 counters on the Atlas, that's really scary, right? Like at this point, there's one more hostile, and from there you can go final Atlas into Audacity or Biotic Labor or however you manage to spend 17 influence that the Transport Monopoly has.
Yeah, some bozo gave this faction.
What, no, it's like Titan. I think it's a reasonable Titan. I wouldn't kick yourself over that.
Yeah, I think the thing about it is I just looked at it's a pretty slight ability in some senses, but I think people's innovations are, Oh, I got a judge call. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no worries. Turning wheel coming down on Aaron's side, trying to build up some ability to see multiple cards. Now, quicksand again, you could always like boomerang through that on one final run once you built your turning wheel up to a lot of counters. Now, turning wheel is actually really good multi-access against transport monopoly. Everything else is a bit difficult, but shipment from 10 and coming out from the Alice token to pull to the second Alice, we're now on game point. Aaron has to win this turn or it's good game. This is a bit like that Titan train that you might be used to, because that last Alice token lets Jester pull in the final hostile takeover, assuming they're running 3 of each. I wouldn't be surprised if they were. And that'll be it. So Aaron basically has this final turn to pop off, or at least score the last hostile takeover. At that point, they're still weak to Biotic Labor to score an agenda. Jester doesn't have the money just yet. They'd also be weak to Audacity into, I don't know, 3-2 if they're running Merger, I guess. It's going to be hard. Ngolo coming through here. Actually going to end up breaking the mouse list. Now, I think being on 7 credits might matter for Jester, just because then they do have money to Biotic Labor out if they need to. But I don't think there's any more 3-2s. Maybe that's not that important. So it's firing. Pad tap getting 2 for Aaron, 1 for Jester off the subroutine. Accessing a single card, finding, it was a security testing, excuse me, not actually an access at all. Coming back here, just building up turning wheel tokens. And it's also really hard. You don't want to access last click if you're looking for the exact hostile itself, because if you run R&D and dump at your turning wheel, Jester can just, with no threat, pull the 2-1 into hand. But I think at this point, Aaron just needs any agenda to close the game. Well, ideally a 3-pointer, actually. Stealing a false lead from HQ. Oh, so they did have the win next turn, even without the hostile takeover, with either a Biotic Labor that they could pull with Atlas token, or I'm assuming that they have Audacity. Going in again. Again, turning wheel is not dependent on a successful run, so you cannot stop that ability with Transport Monopoly. This is not like legwork. This is not like Maker's Eye. Hitting that mouse is the final time. Aaron might not care about the tags here, because I think they're definitely lost the game next turn to a hostile takeover. This is their one turn to interact. Single axes on HQ. I don't know if there's another agenda there. It's been a couple turns they've been scoring. It's a hedge fund, so Aaron has one shot here in R&D. Taz doesn't have the credits to go through quicksand, actually. Whoa, it's going to need 3 credits to get through quicksand. Wait, they can't do this. Why? Oh, they have 3 credits. They have bad publicity. Whew. Hostile takeover, bad publicity. Going to go for 3. 2 credits to make it a barrier, or code gate, excuse me. 1 credit to break the singles 2 strength subroutine. We're going to be seeing 2 cards off the top. Now, this is the chance. Jester should, no doubt, pull the hostile takeover 2-hand with the final Atlas token before Aaron accesses. That means that Aaron still needs, I don't think there's any more 2-pointers in the deck. Going to need 2 1-pointers or a 3-pointer. With 2 cards accesses. Let's see if Jester pulls the card. You need to pour the hostile here, right? This is anyone's game. Aaron needs to get a bit lucky. I think Jester does have it set up for next turn. Aaron choosing to see 2 from R&D. Jester giving this a thought of what they want to pull. Yeah, Rotage, unless only 2 hostiles in the deck. It'd be wild for a fast advance deck with archers, but yeah, there's a possibility. We don't know these deck lists. Jester has no action, not pulling the hostile. 2 cards from R&D, whiffing, turning wheel counter. Maybe they had the hostile in hand. Why would they not pull there? Do they have the hostile in hand? If you have the hostile in hand, maybe use the Alice token to pull another card. They pulled the hostile from R&D. They just didn't pull it. Install advance. That's going to be that sort of Titan choo train up on 7 points. Barely bringing it out there. A very close game between both of them, and a really exciting game. I know we talked through a bit of it, but going back and forth, trading tags, having bad state. Like when we stopped commentating for a second there, Jester was in a really bad spot. Down money, non-end the run ice on HQ, which can be an issue against Criminal. I don't think we saw, we did see 2 diversions. I don't know if those were damage or whether those actually went through, and pulling it out. Really well played to both players. And that's round 1. They split. That's good to see. We still have a lot of time, I reckon, in the round, so we're just going to jump into like any table and see how things go. These table numbers are arbitrary at round 1. Let's see what Rob and Lost Geek are up to. I think the diversions were discarded. Oh, discarded even. Oh yeah, you'd want to discard them. Of course, you're playing against Transport Monopoly. All right, I imagine this is something similar to what we've seen in the first game. And by the first game, I mean somebody psycho-bealed out an 11 4-point beal. So I don't think we missed we missed something. It's exactly like the first round we saw where we have Paige Piper setting up with the money, and I don't think the money exactly comes in. Splashing Diesel in Anarch is always wild, but you got to figure out how to use the influence. We have 17, I believe, in Paige Piper, and the other side, you know, we having psychographics, and that'll close the game when you go 10 tags in for sure. Yeah, spam tag punishment. I think we got unlucky though. If I'm not mistaken, there's only like 2 or 3 Aries. That might actually be the only 2 Aries, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, Whiteblade's playing? Yo, Whiteblade, what are you doing? What is that board state? Holy hell. All right, so we are... This is just a different... This is a legitimate Netrunner tournament of standard format. We're going to just walk out of there and pretend we were never there. All right, Class Act. Bacterial Programming, what? So Class Act, I think, is something we're going to see very commonly today. A very strong ability to start with. It's basically like Andromeda. I think you have 15 influence. What does it look like? Class Act is 12 influence. Okay, so it's a bit mitigated. You do start with 1 link, considering you want to be kind of like Andromeda. You're going to start your game with like what, 8 cards in hand, 9 cards in hand, and you'll have the Class Act ability on. As restricted card and criminal, a very interesting question for this format. We have Film Critic coming down, which might matter a lot because we're talking about Gen X Pavilion. We're talking about Bacterial Reprogramming, so they can set up really aggressively, looking at the top 7, drawing any of them. That's a really strong ability. You can start with a lot of cards in hand. You can get Breach Drones and Archives. You can set up the top of R&D so you don't have to protect it. I'm assuming this is an Obokata punitive Counter-Strike type deck. Bacterial Programming works really well with that combination. And with Film Critic on the table, Obokata Protocol might not be too scary. We're seeing here Gen X Pavilion, an incredibly weighted trash to res cost ratio towards the corp. This says a runner can't draw more than 2 cards during their turn, which matters a lot when you want to do 4 damage with Obokata and then threaten to kill with punitives or stuff like that. Whew. Here, just let me see if how Sanjay's up, because I'm going to miss. All right, we do have a player on Remastered. Awesome. Drug Dealer, though. Oh, wow, Drug Dealer. Ooh. So this draws on the corpse turn. Yeah, Asker points this out. That's a really big deal, right? Because this draws on the corpse turn, which plays around the 2 per turn limitation. And Drug Dealer, mind you, is hella powerful with Class Act. This lets you draw on the corpse turn, and the trigger, the filtered card draw on Class Act happens once per turn. So it'll happen once on the corpse turn, once on the runner's turn. You're basically playing a Drug Dealer plus a Rozeki, cancel each other out, and you're making something that's kind of like mini Wildside without the click. It's really, really good. Falsified credentials in server 3, that's a gene splicer. Here, I can hear myself a lot better if I take this off, I imagine. Yeah. And we're getting a Marcus Batty being pre-res in the remote. I guess you can always say that's an upgrade. So this gene splicer is probably gonna be how Imp is gonna be trying to close the game off. Imagine their deck might just be 7 3-pointers and then gene splicer. Or is Bacterial Reprogramming a 40 card minimum deck? Sorry that I'm jumping around so much. This will get better once we know the format a bit better. Oh, it's a 45-15. So they might be on 7 3-pointers, maybe on 6 3-pointers and like a 2-point what's it called? Philotic Entanglement. So this Gene Splicer, going to have to deal with this piece of ice, going to have to deal with a Marcus Batty, but it looks like we're going to advance this out. It's an expensive score. Imp, up on game point, 7 credits. We haven't seen anything like Mushin no Shin, so it looks like everything is going to be jammed into this remote. And I think with the Film Critic, you're doing pretty good. Outside of anything, of course, that trashes connections, we might see horses, heads, and beds. We might see just MCA Informant does show up a fair bit in matchups that care about that. Yo, Borrera, how's it going? Dirty Laundry hitting up the Gen X Pavilion. We'll see if paulyg wants a trash. Might just want to get that 3 credits. No Imakua counters to build up. But right now we're seeing pretty standard criminal. I imagine we're going to see a lot of Class Act, which is just, you know, criminal-esque in the way it goes. Less influence, so it's going to be a bit tight on influence. But Drug Dealer, I think, is very spicy include, especially when you can ensure you have Class Act in the early game. Sandy Res is an interesting format. It totally is. Sanjay said he could pop back in. Okay, let me get my headphones back on and I'll pull him in. 1 second. I need 3 monitors for this sort of setup. I'm on 2 right now. Daily cast Rozeki, Drug Dealer taking away. That's still 3 credits and a filtered card at the top of the turn. Amina coming down. 7 credits is a lot. Diversion. Here, I'm gonna pull Sanjay back in. Thanks, Parallel. Imp, no further action. The version's going through. Sanjay, what's up?
Hey, yeah, I suppose the dropping in and out of for judge calls and stuff is a little awkward. You're doing a great job with making this work. Thank you for fitting me on every once in a while.
No, of course. If it helps for you, like you can just mute the call. I don't know if you need a call for judge calls, and then you can just like pop back in whenever you have the second.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes yes, sometimes no, but that's a good idea.
Cool.
Yeah.
So the other game ended pretty quickly. Actually, Jester managed to score out to 7 points. So we were on that sort of thing where there's one Atlas token and there's one hostile left in the deck to get you up to 7. We jumped into paulyg versus Imp. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Class Act is the most represented identity, right?
Yes, it is. Class Act is the only identity that has more. I think we have 8 Class Acts, and everything else is like 4 or less. So we have a lot of Class Acts.
So we're going to see a lot of that. And like no one's surprised, right? Like this is one of the best Nisei cards I think ever printed.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. I am excited that we got a little bit of representation of the other 2 pals, the other 2 old friends.
Yo, Nihilist I think is like exciting. I love the idea that in this format you can, just like Nisei intended, like you can play pseudo Andromeda, pseudo Kate, pseudo Noise.
Yeah. I guess the Noise is more like pseudo Wildside than he ever was.
Yeah, but that's all you need for a pawn shop deck, right? Can you play pawn? Yeah, you can play pawn.
Definitely.
Yeah. So Hernando coming down, forcing, there's the expensive res on the Sadaka, and the Sadaka is going to let a resource be trashed. There's the threat we have against Film Critic. No Amakua, no Boomerang, no way to deal this. Paying 4 to get this res is a pretty big deal on a deck that I'm assuming is punitive Counter-Strike, let alone really cares for the Obokata. So the Sadaka is going to do its work here, getting to trash the resource. I have no doubts the Film Critic. And we have an upgrade on HQ, which, well, the Bravado run, it might actually be Mwanza's City Grid. I don't know what this could be. Maybe just Chrysium?
Oh, I'm very excited if it is Mwanza City Grid. One of the cool things, I guess we're pretty late in the game right now, but one of the cool things with Bacterial Programming is that it gives you a peek at what's on R&D.
Yeah.
Makes Mwanza early game even more exciting, though. I guess this is a pretty spiky deck. Maybe it's just Chrysium Grid. Fair enough.
Just a Chrysium.
And the old Hokusai.
Yeah. We haven't seen it yet, but I'm assuming this deck is on punitive Counter-Strike. We're checking this remote. It's another Genetics Pavilion, so that's 2 of them up. It is a unique card. No real reason to res 2 of them. But now that, Pauly's up on the 23 credits plus, 1 credit a turn at least with the Rozeki, it's going to be hard to land the punitive. But, Obokata Protocol is a hell of a card.
Yeah. Not a very good identity, though.
No, it's pretty bad. This wasn't an option, was it? No, it wasn't.
No, the identity agendas that didn't do anything were not options.
Right.
There's theoretically the only thing that theoretically you could say, oh, you can have a bunch of influence, but that doesn't seem very fun.
No,
The only agenda that really doesn't do anything that just said, hey, here, have a bunch of influence was an ID that is unfortunately not represented in here, but improved protein source.
Yeah, so the runner starts. Does the runner start with 4 credits extra?
Yeah, the runner just gets 4 extra credits. And that deck, I believe, I made 40-22.
Oh wow, 40-22.
So they're kind of like a better custom biotics, I guess.
Yeah, with less restrictions.
A better, but also worse.
Yeah. Zombie says one link on the Class Act seems OP. It's definitely good. I'm assuming, Sanjay, that's because of Andy, the one link on Class Act.
Oh yeah, that's for thematic reasons, and it's probably kind of unnecessary.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know whether we're going to see, like, so far we haven't seen, I'll talk about it, Citadel, Sanctuary, Patap, anything that's like Tag Me that really cares about the link. Also, there is a fair bit of things that care about link in this format. Like, I think there's a couple improved tracers going on in this meta, right?
There are, yeah. We have a few improved tracers. I think it might be it's tied for the second most popular corp.
Whoa, okay. I'm excited to see that. I'm really excited to see that. Andromeda plus except influence. 12 influence though against Andy is a really big deal, but having an ability that's on after more than turn 1 is also, like, obviously can't be understated.
Yeah, I wonder if she'd be more fair if she was 10 influence. I think she would still be playable, but maybe.
Yeah, I think she would be.
I do like that this criminal deck, you do see Hernando Cortez, who's kind of playing a similar role, but with the currents banned and you not being able to be 419, I think corps are able to claw out from low credit totals a little faster, which is
yeah. Well, we saw that exactly before, where at the low credits you're not absolutely hosed by a Mina plus corporate grant, which is always good to see. That there's lines of play to escape that. Dumping in some turning wheels here. I think we're seeing 3 cards off of R&D. Paragon fires, gets that scry. And here, paulyg is only at 17 cards, stealing the SSL off the top.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm going to go do another judge call.
Yeah, cool. No worries. Just jump in whenever you can. SSL being scored, that's not too easy to punitive when Imp is down on 4 credits, Pauly's on 9. I guess Imp will be on 7 at the start of turn, but the 2 pat taps will fire. But this is a big deal because paulyg is now on game point. I was going to say the amount of cards that you install and play might matter against a Jinteki kind of grindy deck. Now, 2 Obokatas are out of the game, so I don't think paulyg is going to take that much more damage throughout this game unless they either hit snares or decide to go through HQ a fair few times. And they're locking the top of R&D, seeing 3 cards there, which means Imp is very unlikely to see an agenda on the next couple turns unless they spend a lot of credits drawing, and I have no doubt paulyg is just going to be hitting this over and over again. Now this drug dealer, I don't think they have a way to trash it. Maybe they're on isolation or something really fun, but that means that paulyg is also on a timer themselves, right? Like they're going to be, in 10 more turns they'll have no more cards in their deck, and that might be an issue. It means that they're forced to play their cards, but like eventually, I don't know, neural EMP recursion, I really doubt it's going to matter too much, but you do have to watch out. Insider info, pauly's deck was made by Tug. Uptime, skip on. We've been up for about an hour. How's it going? Thanks. Although trying to DRM a hostile takeover is a bit yikes. Yo, Jester, good games. Yeah, we saw that. We thought you were bluffing an NGO front. And they were like, oh no. Good game, though. Mystic Miami, so many started turn triggers. Double Rozeki, double single drug dealer, Mystic Miami. That's a lot of value. And paulyg starting with those extra cards in hand. Sure, gamble. Up on 4. We do have a remote trying to be built up and just going to be bouncing off HQ, I imagine, just to get those turning wheel counters up, and then he can lock R&D. Like every turn, Paul can play 1 card and then run R&D in C2. We do have all those turning wheel counters. paulyg taking that shortcut just to use turning wheel to bounce off HQ, not having to make a run and letting the subroutine fire. There's a shortcut installed on the turning wheel if you'd like to use it. Class Act, again, firing off the drug dealer, so good to get your ability to fire on your turn and the corpse turn. I'm surprised that we don't see drug dealer in the modern format, but ensuring you have class act in on turn 1 does make this card a lot better. 19 cards left. Input up 11. Now that punitive Counter-Strike window is now closed. The next agenda is almost definitely going to win paulyg the game. Just trying to go for value here. Null EMP hitting a boomerang, and there's all going to be a fair few cards in archives. I think we're going to see, what, 5 cards in archives here? We know everything on the table barring the ice. All the installed cards, so maybe you want to take a chance to check archives. I guess the problem here would be Breach Dome. There could be, I don't know, Future Perfects, if that's the final 3-pointer, if Imp is only on 3-pointers here. There's 102 people currently watching across both. Not bad for dead game. Welcome to the stream. Hopefully everyone's enjoying this. We got some good Netrunner today. Class Act drawing up. 8 cards in the deck. We're going to see a couple accesses here with a turning wheel, an odd number, but it looks like we're going to see 3 up the top. Easily could close the game off. Imp might be holding stuff in hand, protected pretty well behind double Kakugo. Future Perfect! We got a side game for the game. Spend 0, 1, or 2 credits. If you spend the same, the runner wins the game. If not, it's just going to be there on top of R&D, 3 cards down, which means paulyg can just keep running back. paulyg paying 2, Imp paying 0. Normally, that's what you see when the corp is on low credits. You just pay 0 to force them to spend. Now, luckily, the turning wheel does get the counter back. No agenda stolen this turn. It's not access, it's stolen. So going back on R&D just to build up those counters, I don't think they're going to actually see the card. I think it's... Oh, no, it's the second card? Did I goof that up? We're playing a game again. paulyg with 40 credits doesn't care how much they spend. You just want to make Imp spend money. It was on top. And otherwise, you'll know this is an HQ, and it's really hard to get an HQ. R&D is the best type. So you have to go through 2 Kakagos, get the 1 and 5, and then the 1 and 3 on the side game. It's the second card down. paulyg is correcting us. That's very good. So they know that Imp needs to spend their first click probably drawing or a click drawing if they want to protect an HQ, and an HQ is way safer at the top of the deck. Now, this could easily be it. Side game. Spend 0, 1, or 2 credits. If they spend the same amount of money, that agenda is going to be stolen. That'll be a good game. Imp still has a lot of work to do. It's important to know that this ability does not fire in the remote or when this card is installed. So it's most protected in central servers. Imp pays 1. paulyg pays 1. That's it. Stealing the final 3-point agenda. paulyg will take it up to 9 points. Good game. Man, this is a really cool identity to start as. You can start with like 12 cards in hand. I don't know if you can capitalize on that. You can only show 5 cards with Celebrity Gift, right? Ooh, side game's really exciting. I don't know how Imp would have dug up. It'd be pretty difficult. They'd have to get money for some pretty mean kind of ice, but once they're money, Hernando Cortez is an issue. They can't spend like, what, 11 credits on a Anansi, and then you have to basically Marcus Batty. But with, 39 credits, I imagine that might not be too big of an issue. 2 SSL and HQ. Ooh, that makes a lot of sense. Protected behind the double Kakugo. And at some point, I imagine if paulyg is sick of running R&D, you can just build up Turning Wheel tokens and flesh out all of HQ. Master paulyg, totally. Chance of having Boomerang and DOF is pretty high. Yeah, that's another option there, right? Like, we only have 1 diversion left in the deck if there is a 3rd one, and you can always do diversion into run R&D and keep that like money thread up, so it's harder for them to protect the side game. Whew, reuse 10 of those cards. And Dello, how's it going? I don't think reuse is in the current format, unfortunately, but yeah, that's the kind of things that you need. You definitely do need that.
Yeah, coming in, I looked up if reuse was still legal. It is not.
Yeah, I think it's a lunar, maybe.
It's definitely the first thing that comes to mind when you get the option of drawing 7 cards at the beginning of your turn.
Yeah, wait, what can we do? We gotta do something.
Yeah.
How much more time is in the round, Sanjay?
There are about 15 minutes left in the round.
All right, let's jump into another game. How much time are there between rounds, just so we know?
Basically, as soon as we can get going with the next round, not a lot of time.
Okay, cool. We're jumping into table 8. Again, these tables are arbitrary. Ooh, we're on game over. It looks like that's 5 points, right? Yeah, that's right there, just in time. So that's 5 points. Okay. What else we got? We got Brick and Aruzan playing some NBN.
Ooh, Aruzan's on.
Oh, nice. Oh yeah, Rebranding Team. So this is what we're scared of, and they're doing a good job at it. They're up on 54 credits. They're doing the combo. So this is a combo that I was trying to build on stream a while ago. But the idea is with AdBlitz, it's very strong with Indian Union Stock Exchange because you can res ads that are out of faction, and then every single res is considered a credit off this. You can do with NASX. You can do some absolutely buck wild stuff. Wampo Reclamation is not unique. What the fuck?
Yeah, I think. Also, we just tuned in at a perfect time because it's fun to see a corp with 54 credits and there's no agendas in any score area.
Well, yeah, I think you said that a bit late. I think they just turning wheeled in for some. But what's absolutely buck wild here is with 54 credits, which means plus plus some strength. We have a 15 strength slot machine, 11 strength gold farmer. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter because you can get through these. They don't end the run, right? Like you'd always play 6 to go through gold farmer.
Yeah, when Gold Farmer has strength 11, all of a sudden that 6 to get through
seems really good. Yeah, it's still you love to boomerang it, which I have no doubt can happen in this game. I wonder if the embezzle went off, but we're only on turn 8. This is turn 8. And I have no doubt there was some crazy triggers. Let's see if there's a NASX in the bin. There isn't. But they basically did the recycle of advanced assembly lines on top of the Breaker Bait Grid combo with AdBlitz, which is incredibly strong. Again, this identity says every asset gains advertisement. And there's this absurd combo going on with this card that rarely gets played. It's a double. You pay X to res any advertisements. And you can basically re-res everything on the board. Anything that you res that's out of faction, neutral, HB, you'll get extra credits on top of it with the Indian Union Stock Exchange, and you can really pop off. So by turn 8, we're looking at 54 credits. We've seen no C source. We've seen no sort of tag punishment, but it looks like they're going to still have to figure out how to close the game off. And I think we might have embezzled out some stuff, but we've seen no punishment whatsoever. This is wild. But imagine you pay 3 for AdBlitz just to get 3 Rashidas on the table. Oh, that actually doesn't work because they're unique. You can't res all of them, but it's a good idea.
Yeah, and just if you have a spare when you pay X, if you have spare credit, just get a Rashida out. That seems amazing. Yeah. So the NBN ID is Rebranding Team. So all your assets are advertisements, which matters for one specific card in the game besides Spark, which obviously you can't be. And that is this AdBlitz card that Andre is talking about.
Yeah. So another thing going on here is they've been using Shannon Clare, and Shannon Clare, you basically can put what can you do? Take an agenda, from R&D or archives, and shuffle, and you put it onto the bottom, which is a good way to hide agendas if you want to set up your wild like Wempo reclamation crazy stuff. But they've actually been using Shannon Clare to draw from the bottom of the deck, just using the click ability, because they know what's on the bottom of the deck with Daily Business Show. So it lets them like basically take that card back that they're forced to put on the bottom. Why is Brick running HQ? There's no cards in there. Enigma, strength 12, feels good. Brick just ran with only 2 credits to their name, probably trying to make some turning wheel counters out, but this is the one chance for like C-Source into, I don't even know what you do, like C-Source into what? Like All-Seeing Eye, I guess would be good.
Yeah, one of the things about this deck is that the combo does use up a decent amount of your influence, because you do want those advanced assembly lines, and you want all 3 of them. They're on 1 PO, which is
double, and that's restricted. It's worth knowing that we're on a full 15 influence on a Rebranding Team, so they still have a lot of room for stuff. It's all advance in a remote.
Yeah, Mea culpa. It used to be 17 because I forgot about this combo. I just thought it was like a good thing to do.
Yeah, Adblitz is nuts.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, we see no punishments whatsoever. They might actually try and score out. And this is so weak to like a boomerang half the time and inside job. Like you can still get through here. This is likely to be a Bellona, which is already defending itself on its own. So that's going to be a bit difficult to close it out. But again, like we're looking at turn 8 and they had 54 credits, which is absolutely wild. I wonder if we can tell what their agenda suite is. Like, as in theory, they're encouraged to run neutral and out of faction cards. Like, Tour Guide would be pretty sweet right here. But I think with, the difference between 54 and 58 credits doesn't matter too much, does it?
Yeah. We did see one 15 minutes, which makes me think that they're probably... Like, you would think they'd be interested in C-Source Exchange, like, since they can get so much money. And
I might be getting the name of this card wrong, but what I find out in any deck like this where the runner's a bit scared to run because you have, like, 50 credits is Threat Level Alpha, which is, it's a double, and it says trace, I think, 1 to give the runner a tag or to double their tags, and it doesn't care if the runner has made a run. So it's really strong if you do something, if they're not, if the runner's not running, you do Threat Level Alpha into All-Seeing Eye, stuff like that, or, Exchange. And Brick struggling to make enough money to even contest anything on the board. 2 daily casts taking around. That is the Earthrise Hotel also starting up. And install advance behind a single piece of ice, which will have, what's the math on this? It's 10 credits for every 5 credits. Okay, so they have 45, so that's plus 9 strength. So this ice here will have plus 9 strength. A tour guide with 9 strength and that many subroutines is going to be an issue regardless what you do. Oh, Hacker is saying SIU is better than Alpha in this. Yeah, you're definitely right, especially because you can recur. You can recur CU every turn with Adblitz over and over again if you have them. Disgusting.
I like aDumbBrick's line here to just load up this turning wheel and try and win in 1 hit.
Yeah, and you know what? It's not that unlikely that they can win in 1 hit. Like there's probably a couple 1-pointers. You need at least 5 credit stacks with Bologna. You know that this slot machine doesn't do much. So like if you just do Boomerang, run R&D, like you're in a pretty good spot. Last click, you can also always run into the Enigma just to get the turning wheel counter and not worry about losing a click. And Aruzan is actually slow rolling here, doing double advance into Hedge Fund, which makes me think that either this is a Beal or I don't know why they need 53 credits as opposed to 49.
I do love the idea of that being a BO. I mean, if that's a tour guide, you might say, like, yeah, you're not getting in this ever.
Yeah, inside job or bust.
Yeah.
Ooh, they're on Forger. And I've actually heard people talking about this in standard format, but the idea is that Forger as a console gives you some like utility against that sort of threat-led alpha C-source play, but the biggest deal is that it'll give Class Act the second link it needs to make DreamNet turn on.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to come by link cards, and so...
Not a lot, yeah.
It puts Forger in a more special place than it has been maybe in the past.
Are there any digital identities in this format?
There is one digital identity. Cybertrooper Talent is digital.
Ah, link and digital. Good stuff.
Yeah, I kind of felt obligated to do that for thematic reasons because it's a virtual resource. So if anybody wants to, if anybody who gets top 4 wants to unrotate a woman in the red dress, she can be digital too.
Oh, there's some good connections they can unrotate, huh?
Yeah, I know one not complaint, but lament when I was talking about this format is unfortunately Apex doesn't have any friends in faction.
No.
And so we should, kind of look at what the other virtual resources are.
Oh my God. You could in theory make, I don't know if this works, you could make Kati Jones, if you win the tournament, like make Kati Jones an Apex card, right?
I'm probably going to defer to their judgment, but at the same time, I'm hoping that we can do something somewhat thematically appropriate. And I just don't see that friendship. Though, if you're top, I don't know why you'd be listening to this if you're top 4 right now, but if you make top 4 and you want to, you want me to break the rules and let Shopbot be an Apex resource, I will absolutely let that happen. If you want Shopbot to be Apex's best friend and be an identity in the Apex faction, I'll allow it. Absolutely. I'm very enamored with the Shopbot Apex friendship fan fiction that I've constructed in my head. So of course.
Vincent saying just make the neutral cards mini faction. You could, but it's up to the winners of this tournament to make that decision. I think the mini factions need more support. I think the connections you have in the mini factions aren't that compelling. I don't know if anybody really wants to play Dr. Lovegood. And if you play Lovegood, you don't start with directives, do you?
You don't. I think Jack Sinclair is good.
Yeah, Jack Sinclair is good, especially with DreamNet. Like Jack Sinclair is fine.
In some ways, it's just a totally different deck than what Sunny's doing.
What's the big deal? Excuse me. Yeah, they were slow running the bill. All they need to do is to get that up to 7 advancements? No, it's a bit more.
Not bad.
That'll close the game out. Oh my God, we didn't even see what this ice is. I would love to see what kind of big ice they have because I'm so fascinated by the idea that they're putting 15 strength on a slot machine. I think that's buck wild.
Yeah, I think without somebody specifically making a case to me, I'm not gonna do anything to let Apex be real. But if anybody in the top 4 wants to make Apex faction legal, they can make it happen. They can be a hero to all Apexes everywhere.
All right, I don't think we have that much time in all around. I think this might be the last table we can jump into. This is Rustryder versus shiiuga. We are seeing that improved tracers, and mind you, improved tracers is one of the most popular, one of the most represented identities or agendas in this format, which is a surprise to me. What it basically says is all your tracer ice have +1 strength, and there are a fair few tracer ice. In fact, I think every single ice that shiiuga has res is tracer, and seeing that 8 strength macrophage, the 5 strength data raven is absolutely nutty. The 1 strength resistor kind of matters. Looks like we're in a real slow roll of a game with a roughneck repair squad ticking around in a remote, and they've installed so much ice.
Yeah, and I think the other ability of improved tracers also becomes super relevant because I think oftentimes if you have a bad pub or you have a link or even just you're doing pretty well on money, you can laugh at macrophage pretty easily.
Yes.
But you, but even it just being trace 2 and the run makes it a lot less trivial to just waltz through.
I didn't realize there's actually more text on that, but yeah, that's a really big deal with tracer ice. The idea is do you break it or do you let the trace fire? And this makes both of those options untenable. We're seeing some wild stuff over here. They're going tag me with that rogue trading Citadel Sanctuary combo, but they also have Thunder Art Gallery, a card that I've never actually seen hit the table. So basically when the tag is clickless or removed with the 2 link between the Archivist and Citadel Sanctuary, they can install a card for a credit less, which is pretty good value. That's a clickless in the mini career fair, mini modded, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it seems like both runner and corp seem to be comfortable with slowing things down.
Yeah.
Though theoretically one of them is wrong.
Yeah, this is taking away. It's interesting. It's only the trace ice strength and the base trace of each subroutine, so it's not actually going to fuck with the math on Citadel Sanctuary, which would be pretty wild. We're lucky, Rustryder is lucky here, more accurately. They do have the hunting grounds, which will let them deal with the data raven. They do have viruses. Maybe they can just let their Amakua get thrown away, and they still have to do the trace 2 and the run on that 8 strength macrophage to get through. I don't think you can rely on macrophage when centrals are iced up this heavily. So you can rely on Amakua when centrals are iced up this heavily, so that might not be that big an issue that they lose that card there. We also have 4 influence spent on the Archivist. Again, just to get up to that 2 link, it makes the Citadel easier, but best off, it makes the DreamNet a really, really strong econ option. I didn't even know there's a security nexus in the middle of this. You know what? I think Rustryder has the good tech here. They have that hunting grounds. They have the bypass. They can run R&D for pennies.
Yeah, because they can all. Yeah, they are not terrible at just tracing through some of this stuff, and that's hard to say against these improved tracers. But
yeah, it's 3-link versus an improved tracers deck. What's the chance of that ever happening?
Yeah, this is. I think we've seen this in the past where you play these very link heavy decks, and the matchup against some of these NBN decks just isn't fun or fun for one of you. And I think it's unfortunate that this what looks like a pretty solid improved tracers deck maybe found this matchup. Because certainly at this point, with this hunting grounds on the table and the security nexus on the table and all this horrible stuff, I think shiiuga's on the back foot. It's not over, but it's not good.
Well, they still have a lot of work to do. Like, shiiuga still has a lot to score, but like this remote server, even with having 3-link, might be hard to contest through. Like, I don't know whether shiiuga is going to really commit and only play tracer ice. Like, I think one of the better ice you could have on a 5 strength 5 ice remote is just a border control at the end of the day, regardless what cool stuff you're doing with your deck. And security nexus hunting grounds doesn't deal with that pretty well, so they probably do have a remote that might be relatively secured. This at the end of the day is still trace 5 though, and they can only pay 2 to get through it, so I don't know, maybe. But it's definitely rough when you see someone sit down for 3-link across from you. I just realized if you play Sunny, you don't have 2-link anymore. That's rubbish. That's so hard.
I did give Jack 1-link, even though he doesn't.
That makes sense.
I think we do have one player playing Jack Sinclair today. I think CTZ is on Jack Sinclair, and
awesome.
I am excited to see how it does. I think the first round Jack lost.
Okay.
But I think there's a theoretical Sunny deck you can build that's like really all in on the fact that Jack Sinclair gives you like a lot of easy, successful runs, and you can really commit to that kind of. And that deck is usually not that good in Sunny, because even if you play 3 Jacks in Sunny, it's a 50-card deck. You can't always find them. But I'm interested to see what this Jack deck looks like, because that's like my favorite way to play Sunny. Like going into every server,
Yeah. Is the Jack Sinclair Sunny deck still 50 cards?
It's 45.
Ooh, that could be fun.
Yeah, just a little. Lovegood is 40 because that ability is
a bit bad, yeah.
We just had time in the round, so.
Okay, so time is called. Do you want to call it in here? Oh, time in the round. Awesome.
I'm gonna pop out and go talk to people and make sure that everything is going good.
Awesome. I'll catch you back soon.
All right.
Captain Nice says Lovegood was first choice. I made a deck with donuts. Hell yeah! But I settled on something less janky. Yeah, that's like the weird thing about Lovegood is like if you have Lovegood turn 1, you could turn off a lot of things like Drug Dealer or like Louis Guillermo or stuff like that. But at the end of the day, most of those cards are just like the same as, oh, if I had a Rozeki, I could counter this, and Rozeki's just good. So time is called in the round, which means Rustryder gets to finish their turn, and then shiiuga gets their turn. It seems very unlikely that shiiuga will be able to score at least 6 points on a single turn. So it looks like Rustryder is going to get a full win here on time. So for those who are tuning in, wondering what the fuck is happening, welcome to the OKORINA tournament. This is a tournament Sanjay is running, and I've been lucky enough to be able to cast this. This is just round 1. We've seen a lot of games of 5 rounds today. We're doing 5 rounds, and there's some cool prize support for the top 4. You can find more information about this if you go to Always Be Running, find the OKORINA tournament. It's a bit of a work to get there, but go to the StimHack forums, and then you basically find the rules. The gist is, maybe I'm good at explaining this now at this point, but instead of picking an identity, picking an identity for the run of the corp, you either have to pick a unique connection, and that becomes your identity with a runner, and you get that card effect as your identity. Or as for the corp, you pick an agenda, and you get the win scored and ongoing win scored ability of that agenda as your identity. There's a bunch of options. Some are banned, but all the options are here. They all come with different mana links, minimum deck size, maximum influence subtypes, and some slight erratas to make some of the cards make more sense. Some choices on the runner, very interesting so far. A lot of choices on the corp. We've seen a lot of different things so far. I think the runner side is a bit more heavily weighted towards, like, we're seeing a lot of class act, which is no surprise, but corp, it's kind of all over the place, which is really exciting. Only other rules, and these are important, following the restricted and banned list as of the Nisei standard as of right now. Currents are banned, which is really exciting. What else? Rebirth is banned. DJ Fenris is banned, and very importantly, whatever card you choose to be your identity, you cannot include any other copies of that card within your deck. So if you want to play as Puppet Master, you can't have any agenda Puppet Masters in your deck. Those are the rules. It's been round 1. This is the first tournament of it, so Sanjay's really excited to see whether the balance change choices that he's made are going to work out. He has done some testing, I know, so we're really excited to see. There's 28 players playing. We're going to be able to see what the standings look like right now. The top 4 players have a really cool prize. I think it's the top 4 players and anybody else tied at the same amount of points. They will be able to choose what identities will be added to this format, what agendas or connections, unique connections, excuse me, will be added to this format going forward. If they can pick anything from Netrunner, even if it's a rotated card, which is really exciting, so you can get some of your favorite cards in there. Also, if you pick a card that doesn't have a faction, neutral cards, like Kati Jones, for instance, you get to pick what faction they join, which is, I think, the most exciting thing by far. APOC is tough in a Sunny deck since there's so many permanent cards, expensive hardwares. I could see Jack APOC deck that runs all of Geist Cow Breakers. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, you could do that. You definitely could do that. Guess I'll stop playing Monster Train to watch. Oh, Steven, how's it going? Enjoy Monster Train. It's actually really good, but do enjoy this tournament too. It's been pretty great so far. Again, 28 players. The round has just ended, so there's going to be some we're going to insert that into the standing table here. What I'm going to do, unfortunately, is I'm going to just take a second off and get a drink of water and catch my breath a bit, but we'll be back in about 5 minutes, so don't go anywhere. See you in a bit. Welcome back, my friends. Round 2 is just about to begin. I believe the pairings are up. Just give me 1 second to catch up on things. I muted myself on that. I don't think that's an issue, is it? So pairings are up. Let's look at the standings to see where we are. We're on Cobra.ai. So standings right now, it's going to be, there's a couple options here, 0, 3, or 6. So looking at the top, we got paulyg, Rob, Clickhell, Chrome, Ragnar, Taguro, Rustryder, Suck, Captain Ice, Manor. And then we have a bunch of splits. So it's still anybody's game, obviously. We have 5 rounds, which is a bit to go. I wonder if we can see, yeah, these are the standings, or not the standings, the distribution. This is a huge surprise in some sense to me. We're seeing 4 Glen stations. Did not think that I'm scared of that. Glenstation is not a fun ID to play against, I don't think, which is wild. 3 Architect deployment tests, which is cool. 3 Puppet Masters, 3 Improved Tracers. We are seeing 3 AR Enhanced Security. We've seen 2 of those so far, and I think both of those players are doing pretty good. Transport Monopoly, also very common, but we're seeing a lot of distribution here, which is really cool. On the runner side, it's obviously heavily weighted towards Class Act, which is something that was kind of expected at this point. Maybe that identity looks a bit too appealing right now. And we have Paige Piper, 3 Cyber Trooper Talute. I think that's the most represented shaper, followed by the Artist, which I think the Artist is really exciting, but got also really cool at a 50 card deck, and then we see a bunch of other stuff below that, which is really cool. Sanjay, there are a couple of divested trusts being played. How does forfeiting? Can you forfeit your ID? Jessica, I can answer that. You can forfeit your ID. You don't actually have to do anything. You just can only use it once per game. It's not like you have to throw it out, but that's the idea. It's a once per game trigger. So we're off onto round 2. Hopefully you're all enjoying watching this at home. Let's see what table 1 looks like. We're trying to watch somebody that we haven't seen before. We've seen paulyg and Ragnarok, even though they're table 1. Table 1 for Sokka. Let's watch this one. Sokka is Canadian, no. Ooh, it's Puppet Master. Hell yeah. Shoutouts also to the Nisei crew, or sorry, to the JNet crew, you're taking on Net crew, that gave the ability to actually replace their identity with other cards, which is really exciting. So round 2, we're off. This is Puppet Master, an ability that I'm actually think is really strong. When the runner makes a successful run, you get to put an advancement token on a card that can be advanced. So what can you do with that? I think immediately I would be playing this to put advancement tokens on ice, and then do something like Red Planet Couriers, Biotic Labor, and then go ahead and score out a big old Project Beal. You can also put this on traps. You put the counter after the runner has committed to access, so there's no paid ability window. So it's not like you can res an NGO and fire it, but if they hit something like a Project Junebug, that's all good, nice and good. So any trap that has advancement tokens on it is legitimate and pretty easy to play in this faction. On the other side, we have Class Act just hitting their 5-card draw, and then they get a scry from here. I think Class Act only has 12 influence. They do have a link. I think Puppet Master is just the standard 45-15, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so nothing too special here, and we are off to the races. And weird NBN advanceable ice deck versus probably good stuff Criminal. It's also definitely worth knowing. Ooh, Bravado HQ, that's good. Hitting the IP block, that's going to be Trace 3, 1 link for Class Act. They want to get an extra credit and or an extra access, but here, as long as Manver spends 1 credit, they can end the run here. They will give Sokka the tag. They will also deny Sokka an extra credit for passing the IP block. I think it's definitely the right play. But they don't. Oh, weird. I thought they would. Billy, what's up? Gutted I couldn't take part today. I had to put together a gross Puppet Master trap deck I was looking forward to trying. Wonder if this is similar. Yeah, I'm excited to see how it looks like. Bummer you couldn't make it. I know there'll be more OKORINA tournaments in the future, so don't worry. There might be some other options. Under the Bus says installed. Yeah, no, unfortunately you can't. So Sokka, considering here whether they boost or not, it's just Trace 3, so they'll spend 2 credits. Again, they do have a link. I know it's not on the card itself, but this is meant to be like a pseudo Andromeda. And that's going to be it. Taking a tag. Gaining their 6 credits back. Career Fair down, a Day of the Casts, playing a Forger, playing a Citadel Sanctuary. Now they technically have 2 link and the ability to remove a tag clicklessly. This is a combo that we've actually seen a couple times so far in this format. And a big deal with this is that you can play DreamNet in the format. You now have 2 link, and anytime that you run, the first time a turn you run, you can get a card and a credit with the DreamNet combo. This is a really cool combo with Forger and Citadel Sanctuary and all the other stuff that goes with it. I think you'll be seeing this even a bit in standard format modernly. Manver trying to draw up into anything. They didn't make a successful run, so they didn't get their Puppet Master ability. Now you need to advance something that can be advanced, so it has to be like ice that can be advanced. You can't just dump tokens on IP block. So we're excited to see what those cards are because we haven't seen any so far. Credit into Hedge Fund. Up on money, but the single IP block, especially with a Forger, if you want to trash it, means that you're open to a diversion of funds here, which would actually be pretty good for Sokka. Deuce is Wild, drawing up, getting that filter draw at the top of the turn with Class Act. I'm assuming we're going to see some rogue tradings in this deck. There you go, rogue trading. Click for 2 clicks for 6, gaining a tag, which I have no doubt will be removed clicklessly with the 2 link and Citadel Sanctuary trace. And Manver can only deal with that if they have a lot of money, and even then it might not be good to just spend all your money to end up with a tag at the end of or the beginning of Manver's turn. Installing a remote ice in front of it, a single ice, a bit scarier now against Criminal. It's easy for Criminal to get through that. Things like Boomerang, even Inside Job Disc get play. So we'll see what they're rushing out. If they make a run, Puppet Master can always put a counter on that card if it's advanceable. And looks like no run this turn, just continuing to set up. That's the Earthrise Hotel. Really good additional value with the class act and daily casts. Advance, advance, advance. 3 advances is going to get you an AR enhanced security. Ooh, another option you could have played as an identity in this tournament, a well represented one as well. And that means the first time a turn that Sokka wants to trash a corp card, they're going to have to take a tag, which is really strong. Can you hover over the Revenant ID? Yeah, this is the class act, which says every time after the first turn where they draw 4 cards at the beginning, whenever they draw a card, they draw an additional card and put one of them on the bottom of the deck. Kind of like a daily business show for the runner, and it's proven to be one of the strongest cards Nisei has printed. Very, very, very good. Film Critic coming down, again, restricted card in this format. That means we're not going to see anything else too spicy out of Sokka. We're not going to see any Ngolo. We're not going to see, I don't know what other runner restricted cards are. But that might be a big deal in this matchup. A lot of times NBN decks will be playing Bellona, and you don't have to pay the 5 credits to steal, which is pretty good. It also protects you against punitive Counter-Strike, but we're not still sure what Puppet Master's plan is. I don't know. And that's kind of the cool thing about this format is you have to be very quick to deduce what your opponent is trying to do. Install, one iced, one uniced. If you make a successful run, one of these will be getting an advancement token. Sometimes that's just good click compression if you think this is an agenda and here you want to score if it's a 4-2. The advancement's also free, which is great. You don't have to pay for it. Oh, Mad Dash, Jessica says. Yeah, I guess you could play Mad Dash. So far we've seen Ngolo. I think that's pretty good. I think in this format, what's really good, especially because people are playing AR enhanced security, is you can play Dorm Computer, which I think is underrated, especially in a world without currents. I think it's a pretty good ability. Lets you deal with IP blocks, with a lot of ice, with a lot of trashing and destruction, and install it for 0, which is great. Amina coming down, a Sentry Breaker and a Decoder. No ability to deal with barriers, and barriers is NBN's kind of good thing here. Gold Farmer, getting res for 3. You can go through this if you want to go ahead and pay 6 credits. It's cheap enough, I guess. It's actually still pretty expensive, but if you go through this with a breaker, you're going to end up losing money, so sometimes that ends up to be the best choice you got. Still no successful run, but Dirty Laundry on server 2 means an advancement counter is going to end up somewhere. This could easily be like a ghost branch, but again, some of those tags can get removed for free. And accessing here, it's a Project Junebug! Value Junebug! Paying 1 credit to do 2 damage, and they trashed it too. So AR Enhanced Security is going to give Sokka a tag. Not that big of an issue when they have Citadel Sanctuary, let alone the ability to forger it. And they're actually going to go trash the Junebug, which is interesting. Do you do that? If you don't, it gives them a way to build up counters so that they can like trick a light or do red plant couriers or something. But that was an install to do 2 net damage, which is kind of cute, and give the runner a tag, which doesn't matter too much. Rashida, going to be rezzed behind the Gold Farmer, 3 credits, 4 cards with the mandatory, and Manver is still trying to dig in. Net damage is actually really important against Criminal, because a lot of times they don't have recursion if they lose some of their breakers. I think they just hit a gamble and a Dirty Laundry, which is still a fair few credits. That's a good trade. I can pop back on commentary when convenient. Yeah, let me invite you, Sanjay. We have Sanjay on the line on Discord, so I'm just going to do a call and get him in here. Manver up on 18. We haven't seen any tag punishment. Yo, Sanjay, what's up? Round 2.
Well, I'm excited to see some Puppet Master in play. This is one ID that I was like, oh, this is gonna be so cute. And then when I thought about it more after I gave everybody influence and stuff, I was a little bit dreading it because you can play Mushin in this thing, and that's pretty gross to just Mushin advance and 5 tokens on it when they have a successful run.
That's really scary. We haven't seen Mushin so far. Yeah, 5's a shit ton, man.
Yeah.
We did see the value Junebug so far. Like somebody installed, or sorry, Manver just installed the Junebug, and Sokka ran it with a Dirty Laundry. That's just 1 credit to do 2 net damage, and they trashed it on top of it with an AR enhanced security. I think this is our 3rd criminal we're seeing with the Citadel Sanctuary package, which I think is a big deal that the class act has a link, right? So it was still pretty good, but we haven't seen too many tricks just yet. Not a lot of successful runs.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see how people have slightly tweaked or really revamped just what is a good criminal given the slightly different constraints. And I think some of that is people hey, I'm gonna rebuild these decks from the ground up, and some of them is finding new stuff that is maybe better even.
So I don't think we see, and I need to look at the list, but I don't think too many criminals are represented. Obviously, Class Act is the lion's share of that. I want to see Theophilius Bagbiter. If we know who's playing Theophilus, I'd love to watch into those games because I'm convinced that deck has some really interesting shenanigans. Sokka also, by the way, just getting a diversion off, throwing it perfectly into a mining accident. You can make that a 10 credit swing if Manver doesn't want to take the bad publicity, which is incredibly really big swing.
Yeah, and I think one thing we saw here on this turn that was kind of the super cool thing about Puppet Master that I was picturing is that Sokka had a plan that involved using their clicks in a certain way, and Puppet Master's like, oh, there is an advanced card in server 1 now, too. Are you ready to deal with that? And I don't know what it is. It'd be delightful if they scored. I guess NBN doesn't have a lot of
great 4-2s.
Yeah, it doesn't have any 3-2s that can get over advanced, which is like a perfect thing. Like if you had an Atlas in this identity where you could say, okay, well, I'm going to never advance this, but if you want to give me an extra counter, that's fine.
That's actually like a big deal here, like because Puppet Master has a condition on it. The card that you free advance has to be an advanceable card. So now you know a lot about server 1, right? Like the chance of it being an agenda increased heavily, considering there's not like I don't know how many advanceable cards otherwise the deck would be running. Obviously they built it, but like now they're not just like advancing Rashida, right? Like it really puts you on the consideration of what's in server 1. Manfer also following it up with a second advancement here easily could be an SSL, a Bologna, anything, literally anything.
Yeah, I'd be very excited for this to be a Beal.
Yes, that would be the dream.
I think the thing that would make me the most happy is that if this is a Beal, that Sokka just continues to run other places and
just power it up until they score it all at once.
Yeah. I think if 13 runs later we see that this is a Project Beal for 7, that would be the way this game could go. That would make me the happiest. I don't think that's the way this game is going to go, really, but that's what I want to see.
I don't know how big of a deal it is, but also because standard identities are out of this format, just advancing and building advancement tokens on a piece of just on like a card installed in a remote server is a lot better in a world without Leela Patel, where like you could have that, where you could just build something into remote and keep putting free advancements on it. Like you could res a Junebug, right? Put advancements on it and eventually just like Red Planet Couriers out. You don't even need ice for that.
Yeah. I'm gonna in Discord just link to the 2 people who have Bagbiter decks.
Thank you. I think actually Jessica posted in the chat. shiiuga and
nice.
tsgstarwars are both playing Bagbiter.
Oh yeah. Anybody who wants to look at the Cobra list right now, you can actually take a look at all the IDs people are playing.
Oh, because it tells you. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not color coded. That's a little annoying. It feels less satisfying to look at this just black text.
Yeah,
you can the factions because for thematic reasons I labeled the factions, but on the corp side, but the runners, it doesn't really look like it. 5
advancements. It's a reverse account.
That's amazing.
So many of those advances were totally free. I think they got 3 for free.
Oh, I take it back. That's so much better than the Beal I was picturing. That's
sick. Amazing. Oh, that's so good. They did have the punishment to follow it up there. Like, obviously, hard-hitting news would kind of be, like, the nuts. But Sokka's credits are down to 2. They still have the rogue trading, and even if they rogue trading, I don't think Manver's going to be able to contest with the Citadel Sanctuary tag with the 2 link on top of it. And, hey, sure, Gamble's going to climb out of that. So still, only 1 agenda point scored. We're going into turn 9. There might be something in HQ at this time in the game. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Oh, that was delightful.
That's so nice.
I think that's the kind of victory that you can lose all your games and still love your deck.
Oh, if I'm not mistaken, Sokka 234 is a Canadian champion as of last year, this year? I forget exactly what.
I'm going to go to...
What's that, Sanjay? This isn't Goat Simulator 2019, change of category. Yo, what's up, Dean? How you doing? Install on 2 different remote, in server 1 and on R&D. I think Sanjay just stepped out for a rules thing. With a bad pub and 12 credits to their name. Again, anything you run, it's just such a big chance of being a trap. And while this gold farm is still costs 4 credits to go in, I just don't think Sokka's going to be excited to run server 1, which anything they run could have an advancement token on it. In terms of advanceable traps, like so far we've seen Junebug. Now Ghost Branch isn't too bad with the Citadel Sanctuary and the Forager on top of it. I don't know if there are any other advancement traps. I would love to see a Ward Bait in this deck that you run and puts 3 advancements onto something else. That'd be dope. Slot machine, more free advancements if you like it. Program hardware event means it's only going to be 3 credit loss. We know there's an Amakua coming off the top with the archives open that could be pretty relevant. Another mining accident and a boomerang, not bad stuff at all. But then again, criminal decks don't usually put the bad stuff in there. That diversion likely to go through. You can even trace through the IP block or let Corroder do the breaking. It's a bit more expensive than, it's not that bad. It's like 3, right? You only have to break 1 subroutine. It's a good old slot machine. Sokka is Will and needs a reigning Canadian Nationals champion. Thank you, Knuckle Guy. All right, so we're dealing with the Canadian national champion. Shout out to Sokka. That diversion access is pretty good when Manver is on 5 credits. That will put an advancement counter on server 1, but with 0 credits to their name, there's no traps they can fire in server 1 besides Ghost Branch if they don't have credits on access. I think that's the cheapest 1 credit you have for, it's 1 credit for Junebug, 2 credits for Secretary, and Aggressive Secretary is actually really good in a format with this many criminals. Oh my god, Aggressive Secretary is probably good. And then 3 credit gets you up to Cerebral Overrider, but I think Secretary is actually the best in this position by a huge margin. But again, 2 credits they don't have to res, or to fire the on-access trap. Sokka 9 credits to the name, has a tag. Not sure how they have a tag, but they do. And Manver did not even choose their ability. Got a successful run, didn't put a counter on server 1. That means this card is not advanceable. That means it's largely Rashida, if I'm not mistaken. So Sokka has a good reason to run here. He's going to pay 3 real credits with the bad publicity. They basically play 2 for Corroder, lose 2 with the Gold Farmer, get an access here, and going to pay 1 more to trash Rashida. But this card, I think this is the first time, right? Not whenever. It's whenever? What the fuck? Oh, this could be huge. Wait, the run wasn't successful? Wait, what happened? Did we totally miss that? Oh, Manver paid 5 to increase the strength to ace to hit that P block. Sokka could have just boosted there. I don't know why they let him boost into trace. It stopped them from having 5 credits. Now the tag doesn't matter, but that means that this Puppet Master didn't fire. So there is a chance that this is an agenda. But again, they don't have to use this ability. So I don't think they knew anything. I don't know why they let that fire. That seemed a bit weird. They could have had the same result, but got more money to their name. It's a Rashida Yahim though, so that does make sense. That's a reason why they can't put advancement on it if they make a successful run, just like right there on server 1. So Rashida down, Manver on no money. Sokka up on 5, gonna be able to clicklessly remove that tag, which is good stuff. Actually using the Forger. Oh, because of ARE enhanced security. Okay, I gotta get my head back into this game. So using the Forger, losing a link permanently to remove the AR enhanced security tag. Again, such a strong thing, agenda to put in this deck that wants to jam so many things in the remote and put advancement counters on it. Manver clicking for 3. What up, Sanjay?
Hey, I'm back. That was a tough one. I meant to look. I looked this up before and I couldn't find it, but I wasn't TOing anything at the time, so I was just like, well, I guess I just won't know. But the question is, if something is hosted on something, like that has a restriction, like off-campus apartment or, or in this case, it was NetChip, that can only host things that, you know, of a certain mu. Yeah. And the question was if that is no longer the case. In this case, it was there were 2 NetChips. One of them got bounced. And there was a Maven on the other one. I think you're good. Apparently you're not.
I thought the hosting clause was only on the installation, and after that it doesn't care.
It's on the installation, and if you lose the ability to host, like somehow, like, you know, if
you lose a NetChip, yeah,
then they would stay hosted. But if it still has the hosting ability, it does keep making sure that it's legal.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Cool.
It's weird, right? Yeah. Yeah. So if you flip NetChip face down, then it still can keep on hosting what is probably an also face down card. But if all of a sudden you trash a NetChip, you have to make the game state legal.
Right.
Yeah. Weird, right?
Yeah. Weird.
Oh, this game has evolved in an exciting way.
Yeah. So it's turn 11. They just installed a card in server 1. Now again, this deck probably has a lot of things that you can advance and put counters on, which would mean that one of the Sokka's best plays is actually to get accesses on R&D and HQ, where those cards do literally nothing when you access them. But the problem again with Puppet Masters, anytime you do that and there's a card in server 1, you're just accelerating the corp on putting advancements for free on the card in server 1. Sokka, I don't think, has got that many accesses on centrals, and again, we're talking about turn 11 and only one pointer has been unscored so far. We've seen no filtering. We haven't seen attitude adjustment. We haven't seen preemptive action or anything like this. So I would say if there's not an agenda in server 1, there's probably 2 in hand, and Sokka just sitting back, building up their money with the rogue trading, building up their money or investing their money in the Earthrise Hotel to get the draws. They have 16 cards left in their deck. Rashida firing off, that's more cards. There has to be like 3 agendas in HQ, right?
Yeah, and it's I wonder how much if there is a turning wheel on this deck.
There must be. I have no doubt all the criminal, like good criminal decks are like pretty homogenous in their multi-axis. I think that's an issue, like especially if they're running Forger, they don't have MU, so it's gonna be hard to sneak a Stargate in there. So they probably are just on turning wheel.
Yeah, and I think Sokka's being pretty clever here. If the corpse ID says, "Hey, I would like you to run," just don't.
Yeah, right. It's the architects of tomorrow.
Yeah, just don't do it.
So install in the remote and an ice in front of it, again with 3 breakers, all the breakers that you probably need outside of typeless ice, which I don't think there's a lot in NBN that you have to worry about here. Sokka up on 23 credits, drawing 2.5 with the class sack, again firing every turn, just assuring that you'll get to the board state you need, which for this deck is slightly combo heavy. Cards like Dreamnet, Citadel Sanctuary, Rogue Trading, you need all that stuff. Well, you don't need the Dreamnet, but you know what I mean. Bravado coming in on the slot machine. We're gonna pull that handle. We're seeing 2 events. Embezzle, a really fun flavorful card, Sure Gamble, and then another Forger. So that's 2 subroutines. Amina deals with this really well, breaks for 4, 3 with the bad publicity, and Manver's going to lose 1. The Gold Farmer is still 4 credits again. This is an 8 credit server to run through outside of the bad publicity. That's really expensive for what this could easily end up to be, like another Project Junebug.
Or an aggressive secretary. I think one of the scary things is that beyond, just it could be anything, it could really be anything, because we have speaking of it could anything, right? Branch.
So like admittedly this one's not great against these criminal decks because of the clickless removal, and they don't trash it, which is interesting, right? Like it gives you a bank if you want to put advancements and then trickle light, red planet couriers, any of that weird stuff that we haven't seen just yet. But if they trash it, they take another tag with AR enhance, which can be a bummer. But I think you're right on the money there. The trap that criminals should be fearing way worse than anything else is actually aggressive secretary, and we haven't seen any of the deck. But if you trash a criminal's Corroder, like what do they do? I guess they have Amakua archives. Oh, we found some of the agendas. I think there's 6 to 4 points here with the 2 foods and archives. That's a restricted card as well. Punitive is technically online here, but Sokka is up ahead with the credits, let alone the damage prevention on Citadel Sanctuary. Mining Accident coming down as well. This is going really not great for Manver anymore. Their hand must be all agendas. We also see a back channel as a good reason to get a way you can get value out of Puppet Master regardless of what you do. Just cash in that Ghost Branch here right now for 6 credits if you have it. But this
back channels is exciting because it also means that punitive is kind of on the table.
It's really hard with Citadel. Like you have to land 3 of them. Oh,
right. Good point.
And it looks like a play that kind of seems a bit desperate, taking that window right now to do it, install. And again, with 2 foods and archives, like what the heck is an HQ? It has to be just like straight agendas. I don't know why you throw 2 foods, unless they threw them out last turn, which I don't think they did, and they were waiting for a preemptive this turn.
Yeah, because the way the turn ended, I could imagine like if you had 2 punitives in hand, you'd be excited about putting those 2 GFIs, but we didn't really know the turn was going to develop in that way.
No.
So it's also possible that they have a preemptive in hand and they just thought, they haven't really been running.
Yeah.
Interesting that Sokka chooses to put the counters on the Ghost Branch rather than the Junebug.
Well,
oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I think the idea is like the Junebug damage is nice and cute and spend money, but I'm pretty sure they're holding on to back channels and they just want to make 1 card with as many advancements as possible.
Yeah, and one of the things about seeing Ghost Branch here, which is is obviously an influence-friendly trap for NBN to play. It makes you wonder what else are they doing with their influence. Because we've just seen Junebugs, which are 1 influence and nothing else. Is that right?
Just the back channels again. It's another cheeky 1 influence.
Right. Yeah, and Red Planet Couriers is a lot of influence, but it's certainly doable. I think it's 4. And that would be a delightful card to play. Though if they were on Red Planet Couriers, I'd be surprised that they weren't on at least a few advanceable ice just to
I don't know. I think I thought that going into this tournament, but seeing how you can just leave a Junebug on the table, I'm not convinced you need the ice. Like, you can just install a naked Junebug, res it, and just keep putting counters on there. Like, sure, the runner could run it and tank it at some point, but like, it's very hard.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see how big this back channels gets.
Yeah. Also, when it comes to that, that ghost branch, it's also like worth considering whether they're actually running any sort of additional like damage or additional tag punishment, right? Like, it's one thing still to just give the runner a bunch of tags so you can go out and like sweep their film critics or Citadel Sanctuaries or Hunted Grounds, stuff like that. Turning Wheels, I think, is a huge hit in this meta, but maybe they're actually on things like exchange of information or even like meat damage. Who knows? Speaking of Turning Wheel's coming down. It looks like Soka wants to close the game out. It's probably only going to need 2 good steals to close the game out. Turnpike, on encounter, lose a credit, trace 5. I don't think this lines up too well against Bagalter. I think you end up breaking it for just 2 credits, including the refund and the credit you lose on encounter, if I'm not mistaken. The IP block, again, is about 3 credits to get through with the Crowder, and we're looking at 2 bad publicity. I think both of those mining accidents sneak through. So these runs are actually pretty cheap. And with Turning Wheel, you can kind of lock the top of the deck. And again, the deck has a lot of like really cheap trashables, so you don't even need a lot of additional multi-access as long as you can run it again and again to see a lot more cards. Sokka seeing an unknown card from R&D. That's the 5th card on what we believe to be a Ghost Branch in Server 1. I think you want to res the Ghost Branch here just so it's not weak to like drive-by or falsified credentials.
Oh, sure.
Oh, they chose a Ghost Branch, which does give him an AR enhanced security tag. It doesn't really matter with the Citadel Sanctuary, but it makes the rogue trading for the rest of the turn a bit more difficult. Running HQ now, Turnpike again. It's a bit more expensive this turn because they've already used Bagalter once on a sentry. You're not going to get the 2 credit refund this time around. This server is a bit more expensive, but again, I can't imagine a world where there's not at least 2, if not even 3 agendas in HQ, considering what archives looked like 3 turns ago.
Yeah, I think the question right now that I'm asking is that, like, the corp looks really behind, but they have this back channels that is going to be worth some large amount of money, and the question is just how they turn that into
a winning
the game.
Yeah. I think even if you get Manver here infinite money, they'd still be struggling to close the game out, unless they had like C-Source, close accounts, all seeing eye. Like, they need all the punishment in the world.
Yeah, and I guess if they can sneak out another 15 minutes, you can, C-Source exchange.
Well, actually, they have Forger, so I don't even know if C-Source is going to be enough to do a lot of work.
Ooh, you are correct. That is that is a problem. And I think you were talking about how even in regular standard, some crims are thinking, hey, maybe I'll just play some Forger. And I think this is kind of why.
Preemptive being played, shuffling back into IPO, a hedge fund, and reversed accounts. One of those cards is more interesting than the other, but it looks like Manver just rallies money, but probably more likely just wants more cards in R&D that aren't agendas or trashable. It's going back in here. It has the ability to access 2 cards with Turning Wheel if Sokka cheeses, which will lock the top of the deck unless Manver spends a lot of cards drawing. DreamNet also firing on first successful run of turn. That's a credit and a card draw. We're down to 12 credits left in Sokka's deck. So like, even just recurring those June bugs of getting fires might actually be relevant to some extent. I don't know if they can actually grind them out. Not seeing anything there, getting the 3rd Turning Wheel token, only seeing a single card, not opting to turn that wheel. Rogue trading half the turn for 6 credits and a tag, which again removes clicklessly and just clicking for a credit there. Up on 23. Probably going to get rid of that tag for free. And Manver's still only on 1 point. A lot of work to do.
Yeah, and I imagine Sokka at this point has seen the back channels, right? So they are doing some math when they're making this calculus, like deciding is if all of a sudden the corp gains 6 times 18, 6 times 3, is that okay? Am I okay with that?
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe even an incentive why they took some rogue trading bucks, just to keep their credit total super high.
I think Herlabius is saying in chat, I think actually is probably Manver's only narrow condition to get out of this role. Like, you see, they care about the IPOs, they care about the money, and every turn that this advanced counter here, like the Ghost Branch, they're not clicking to advance it even though they could, is they're at the ability to Red Planet Couriers out of Biotic Labor out of Beal and close the game out if they have all those cards in hand. Now, how many counters do you need? It's like 11 counters to do a 6?
Yeah.
Okay.
13 is just the whole game, and 11 is 6 points.
So if this gets up to that many counters, you can biotic labor out and close the game if you have all 3 of those cards. It means Sokka kind of wants to see what's in HQ. I don't think we've seen any of those combo cards yet, but I think the biggest thing that, as you pointed out, Sanjay, we haven't seen influence.
Yeah, and I suppose it's possible that Sokka has seen more influence than we have, but based on what we've seen, and even the fact that this is a ghost branch instead of like an aggressive secretary or a cerebral overrider, just a meaner program, a meaner trap. It points that influence is being used for something.
Slot machine hitting event program double Amakua as the bottom 2 cards. Amakua looks really nice here. You can run archives, get your Amakua up to strength. You're not spending that much breaking anyways. I guess with the IP block maybe you don't really want to do that, but paying 4 to get through here with a Mina gonna make the corp lose 1. Now Biotic Planet, Red Planet, Couriers, if I'm not mistaken, is only a 9 credit play. You don't actually have to pay for the advancements because you're moving it, and soon we're gonna be on an 8 credit 8 advanced token ghost branch. I guess also you have a chance of 15 minutes out, and then you don't have to do the full 11. Next turn you could do a 9 point Beal or 9 advancement Beal.
Yeah, have we seen a 15 minutes or? I'm
not sure if it was this game or the last game. We might not have.
Okay, cool.
AR enhanced security, getting a reverse account's trashed. Taking a tag, just building up the turning wheel counters, not even going for multi-axes. Maybe Sokka just wants to hit up R&D as many times as they can to see the top card. Maybe they go again here, and then maybe tries and fleshes out all of HQ at once. We also know that they do have an embezzle at some point. I did not track whether they drew it, but we did see one with the slot machine fire. And if you hit embezzle and hit operation, and you manage to hit either the Red Planet Couriers or the Biotic Labor, assuming that's what's going on behind the scenes here, that'd be absolutely disastrous for Manver's really, really narrow win condition at this point in the game.
Yeah, because I don't think, even though 8 times 3 is 24, and that is a high number, I don't think there's any... I don't see what the win condition is that involves...
With Forger, with Forger, I don't think you have it.
Yeah, even though that's super sweet. So, if manveruppd doesn't have anything else going on, I wish them well to enjoy those 24 credits, but hopefully they have some other plan that is a little bit more
Sokka doing their research in a very open space. And you know what,
interesting,
what's that? Icing up server 3,
that they're icing up the June bug. It makes me think that maybe manveruppd is gonna sort of put the counters in multiple places.
You can always do it. The thing is, like here, if Sokka is not terrified, you can always just eat the you can set Manver back to no win condition by running server 1 and taking all the tags. Yeah, there's a chance that might literally end the runner. There might be meat damage attached to that. But if those 8 advancements go, Manver's back to square 1, and square 1 is so far behind. Single axis on HQ, we don't see what the axis is. Oh, it's no axis actually. Sokka jacks out before axis with rogue trading. I think they had a tag. No, that was from the rogue trading. I don't know why they would jack out there. Oh, it looks like they're just farming turning wheel counters and not trying to give the advancement counter with server 1. But Manver can just pay for those. You can just advance this if you need to.
Yeah, and I think Sokka having the turning wheel just building up is pretty powerful of a counter to the turn before manveruppd is able to Red Planet Couriers out of Beal.
Yeah. You want to flush HQ if you can. And you know what?
And
sorry.
Oh man. Oh, my commentary chops are rusty.
No. That's just remote calls. It happens to everyone. It's totally normal.
Yeah, go ahead with what you were saying.
I was just going to say that if Manver wanted to, that turn they could put Sokka to the test. If you just do advance onto this, they would have enough money onto the Ghost Branch. They'd have enough money and enough advancements to threaten the Red Planet Couriers Beal win. But they opted instead for the IPO, so Sokka's going to go in here. We'll see if they get accesses or whether they just want to flesh out their hand with a turning wheel. They'd see all but 1 card, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think if I were in this situation, I'd be tempted to not go in until I had all 8 counters, because what's the point of going in and giving myself a 20% chance of not seeing everything I needed to see.
There's a big chance it closes the game though, right? There's still where are the agendas? We're on turn 21 and there's only 3 agendas on score areas. They have to if they have the whole combo, every other card in hand must be an agenda at this point. What else are you holding on to?
Yeah.
That would explain why they're playing. I guess you just throw out an IPO. Double icing server 3. Yeah, they just don't want to throw stuff out. I think you ice. Don't you put that on archives? I think. I don't know. Just to stop Amakua? I don't know.
Yeah,
Probably not.
You can't afford to worry about Amakua when they have 36 credits.
Yeah.
Oh, you should. Yeah. But I think Sokka, the fact that Sokka, I think more demoralizing than the credit total is the fact that Sokka just looked up Red Planet Couriers. So
Yeah, they know.
They're on the case. Because I think if they're not, if they're not gonna allow a lethal Beal to be scored out, because now they can look at HQ anytime they want, and interesting.
Ooh, 15 minutes. That means we only need 9 advancements, right?
Yeah.
So there is the 15 minutes. This also means C-Search and Exchange is relevant if there is that burst, but 8 times 3 is 24. It doesn't matter again. At the end of the day, you need to do it twice with Forger and still have twice their money. So Manveru might be going through here to access. With 8, they can see all of HQ. I think they're going to go for the flush right here. Yeah, they're continuing through the slot machine, hitting resource event, diversion, sure gamble, turning wheel in not that order. I don't know why I read it in that order. But they're going through, breaking that with 4 for the Amina. Manveru losing 1. IP block going to be hit. No on encounter ability. You have to just break this for 3 or let the trace. I imagine you might want to let the trace here. I don't know. That's hard.
I think this is smart for them to go for it now rather than waiting even longer. One, they have all the counters they were hoping to get on turning. But then also, if their hand was like biotic Red Planet Couriers, you can win with 8 counters on that thing. And why lose the game that you're winning when you have 8 counters on a turning wheel?
They found the Beal. And you're going to see everything out. They found the Red Planet Couriers. They find the psychographics interesting. The remastered edition is going to close the game out. And let's see if the last card they see is Biotic Labor.
Oh, it's also a Beal.
That's another Beal. Oh, they were just waiting for the Biotic. That's all they needed.
Oh, that's bad. I guess that's that. I loved their plan. That is cool.
Their plan was cool. I like. You could see every trap that they installed, Sokka was trying for it, and I'm glad, at least for Sokka's sake, that they understood the Red Planet Courier's threat. Like, that is a legitimate threat.
Did you see the comments in chat or in the JNet log?
Yeah. I was joking. Yeah, exactly. No, that's totally legitimate. I think you need to do that. But I think with a hand like that, the 2 foods definitely betrays what your hand looks like. Like 3 agendas, I think, is what we called it at. But like, you got to just install advance at that point and hope they think it's some trap. I just don't know what trap you're scared of. Like, Ghost Branch is not that bad. Junebug's not that bad. Man, if that Junebug was just like was secretary, this game would have been wildly different.
Yeah, it's interesting that I love the double fork of Red Planet Couriers and Psychographics, because if you get that Ghost Branch loaded up again enough, they
that's true.
Yeah, that's really neat.
Because that's their punishment, because they're not on hard hitting news. They're not on meat damage. They're just on the basis that, like, yeah, if you do take the tags, you will lose quickly as well.
That's really cute. Yeah.
Cool.
Let's see. What game do you want to watch? I think.
We have Table 11, Lodger, and tsgstarwars. This is probably Theophilius Bagbiter, if I'm not mistaken. You want to check this out?
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
Yeah, and I know Lodger also builds really cool decks, so I'm excited to see what he's up to.
All right, so we ended up finding the final AR enhanced security. There's only 3 in this tournament. We've had the pleasure of watching all of them, and this is exactly what I wanted to do if I was playing in this tournament. Is Theophilus Bagbiter hopefully draw a lot with getting money? They're not playing Peace in Our. They are playing Peace in Our Time, stuff like Peace in Our Time, Day Job, and then you draw basically. Okay, wait, let's go through this slowly. For those who don't know, Theophilus Bagbiter says you start the game with 0 credits, which is a bit of a disadvantage, but your hand size is equal to the amount of credits in your credit pool. From there, you need to get early money. Things like Peace in Our Time are impossible to play turn 1 because you don't have a credit. Once you get your money up, oh, it is a good game. Looks like someone just got boomed.
Ooh.
I don't even know what happened.
It looks like we have 37 cards in the heap and
nothing in the stack,
but only 2 points in the runner's score area. I'm looking back in this chat. Is it possible that we just had the most unlucky,
the worst Severnius? Yeah.
In the world?
So
It kind of looks like it, right?
to explain to those at home, the idea is that you get a lot of money quickly and then you game day and draw your entire deck. Now, the cool thing about drawing your entire deck is that you have your entire deck, so you're ensured that you can play these weird one of combo cards. It looks like they are valuing mass install to install a bunch of things at once, so the idea is you can get all your breakers down for one click, have enough money, and you can install Savernius stim implants. Now, if you're lucky in your hand, you should have about, I don't know, 25 credits, 30 credits, so you can run R&D and spend your whole hand and then access half, like what, 13 cards. The chance of you winning off of that is a bit low. I think when I was planning this, I forgot that currents weren't available, so you couldn't play like freedom through equality into this. But that's the idea. From here, there's no way to reset, which is the worst thing. Like there's no levy. Yeah. But
if you go to turn 8, there's a tsgstarwars spends a click and trashes 26 cards to access 13 additional cards from R&D.
Which turn is that?
8, turn 8, and from that extremely big access, they get 1 Project Beal, and that's it.
Oh no! Oh, that's so unlucky. Oh yeah, here you go. Yeah, unseen card, unseen card, unseen card, unseen card, unseen card. To access 13 additional cards. So 14 card dig, and they sell 1 Beal. On average, you're like likely to see 2.5 agendas. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I do think 14 cards is not a guaranteed game win, but
no, by no means.
I do hope to have a little bit more love than that.
Yeah, it's wild. I think Theophilus is exciting. There's definitely a lot of ways to play him.
Means that our 2 Theophiluses. Oh, sorry, talking over you a little bit there.
No, you're good.
Our 2 Theophiluses are on different plans.
Really?
Yeah, I think we have I mean, not to give away tech, but yeah, actually, I'm not going to give away tech.
Yeah, that's okay. That's good.
Yeah. The other Theophilus is on a different way of. They figure out a different degenerate thing to do.
So I just jumped into table 9. This is Longfox versus sadstug. Sadstug from Toronto. We got 2 abilities we haven't seen so far. This is the first time we've seen Shaper just starting as Beth. I think this is the only Beth in the tournament. I don't think anyone says starting a Beth is going to be bad. It's definitely a good ability. Let's see how many fires you got. And on the other side, we have Architect Deployment Test. Look at the top 5 cards of R&D. Install and res one of those, ignoring all costs. And there's some really wild things that you can do with this. Sanjay, you were talking to me before the tournament about how you can get some wild things that require additional costs to res. Things like Archer turn 1. Things like, what's it called? Corporate Town turn 1. Seems really mean. It looks like we might have just got a Fairchild 3. I'm assuming a Fairchild 3, and then we just gingered the hell up on this server. Longfox has a lot of work to do. Kyle on game point with what looks to be like the winning agenda, with only 1 credit to their name, though. That might be totally different. And we have a 12 strength admin? What?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Looking at the chat, it looks like, or looking at the game log, it looks like sadstug whiffed a little bit on their architect deployment test.
Wait.
They got a MCA austerity policy for free.
Get out.
Yeah.
Oh man. So their opening hand must have been like IPO, hedge fund, like it's just a bunch of operations.
Yeah, it is kind of cool that you get a peek at R&D. That's the same thing as Bacterial Programming. You get to just like know what the top cards are.
Oh, because it's look. Yeah, right.
Yeah, which is a nice little benefit. It also means that the players that happen to be on this deck need to. I really hope that they carefully looked at the FAQ in terms of when you mulligan and when you fire your ability, because it's very silly if you do your ability and then decide whether you're mulliganing.
It's the same as next, right? Like the same timing window?
Yeah. Same as next, same as Jinteki Biotech. I actually hadn't thought about it one way or the other when I first planned things, and then after thinking about it for like 3 seconds, it's like, oh no, you cannot mulligan after firing Bacterial Programming. That is...
It's also like an interesting, it's like a more balanced version of Andromeda, where like you mulligan a 5-card hand and then you Andy +4 when you play the class act, which I think makes it a lot harder to mulligan intelligently, right? And I think that's a really cool way to balance that.
Yeah.
Admin 12 is buck wild, but it seems to be what they needed to get through Surveyor. But unfortunately, like for Longfox, if Kyle just manages to spend whatever, it's like 3 credits or with Jinja to put another piece of ice on there, that admin 12 is going to be quickly depreciated, and you're going to need that admin 14. Let alone even if there's like an ice here that you can trash. Like you could actually install an ice and trash 2 pieces of ice just to make like the Surveyor 10 now good, because there's no way to lower admin, but there's a couple ways to make her higher.
Yeah. I think going under an Atman is a very good way to get around it,
Yeah.
and it shouldn't be too hard to get under a 12 strength Atman.
No, yeah,
Plenty of room there.
shouldn't be too hard, yeah. Accessing HQ, hitting the Hagen, and you know what? As good as things look for Kyle right now, down on 1 credit might run into that HB economy issue that has been around for a while. And Longfox having 9 credits, unfortunately, the Beth value looks a bit worse when Sads is down at 1. Guarding that 2 Rizekis, having double R&D interface possibly coming in with the Paulus Cafe. Hernando Cortez also not doing too much work with Beth. So actually, you know what? Longfox is not in the worst place. You can always triple click through Fairchild if you don't have anything smarter to do and see 2 cards a turn, 3 cards a turn, excuse me, and lock out Kyle from a win. Again, Kyle just needs to jam something into server 2 to be able to close a game in a 5-3 agenda. We've seen food as restricted, nothing like Ecoa Project or Vacheron so far, but this actually could go either way, and I don't know whatever server 3 is. Oh, the drafter fire definitely lost me the game. Uh-oh. It looks like rezzing that drafter might have cost them the game. There might have been something else they could have rezzed. It looks like there's an NGO somewhere that they forgot to pop. Install advance in server 2. Another really strong thing about Jinja, and I don't think they have the money to install things on the outermost portion of the server, but a lot of times if they're not firing Jinja, you know they're not drawing agendas or they don't have a good window. And it looks like Long is going to go run R&D here. Let's see if they get down that the R&D interface for what, 3 credits? I forget how Paolo's Cafe works.
I don't think it's really knowable. Like so many words on that card.
Cyberdelia, also that good old Shaper late game stuff. Only accessing 2, not pulling out the second. Oh no, there we go. The second R&D interface comes down. So that's a maker's eye every run. That's a really strong thing because if Kyle isn't drawing a lot, you don't have to run R&D every turn. You have to run R&D every 2 turns, every 3 turns. Actually, you kind of want to go back here now maybe because they did trash 2 with Rashid and Violet level clearance. Turning Wheel also building up counters as well. So Kyle is going to draw a known card and then 3 unknowns on R&D. But again, they click through Fairchild 3, so it's not like they can go back that turn.
Yeah, it sounds like sadstug is a little bit demoralized about how I don't totally know what the drafter thing was, but I
imagine they had like something else on the server, like a gatekeeper or what's it called, a Hagen, and they installed it. Yeah. They rest the drafter instead. Something going on in R&D, I imagine it's a Hagen, considering the very few ice we've seen on HQ accesses. They're up on 7 credits with the NGO front, but it's so important right now that Longfox keeps on the pressure on R&D, because if Kyle does draw an agenda, if they don't have one in HQ, they will never win the game. Like if Kyle has it, they jam, and I think they probably have it. So they have to make sure you can. Skipon is asking, the ID doesn't count as a connection subtype. The biggest thing is the ID is not considered installed, I don't think.
It doesn't actually. Its types also change.
Because it's like natural or whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't have the connection subtype. All the runners have assigned to them, and this is maybe a little bit harder on JNet, but all the runners have assigned to them like sort of normal runner subtypes, and all the corps have normal corp subtypes. It has little mechanical relevance, but Cyber Trooper does matter, and I think next time we do this, I'm gonna let Rebirth and DJ Fenris
just to see what it looks like.
Yeah, in which case, what I'll have to really make sure that what is a Gmod is, correct in terms of I'll get all my flavor judges to really approve my Gmod list right now.
Because right now Beth is a Gmod. I'd imagine I don't know. I would guess she's natural. You don't see a lot of robot parts, but like, I don't know exactly what Gmod means. Oh wait, Gmod's genetically modified. I'm thinking Cyborg. She could be Gmod.
You can't even tell. I mean, like, I think Gmods, like if somebody's really disenfranchised, you would be more inclined to think they were a natural than a Gmod, but that's kind of it. And like, it's hard to tell. So it's one of the most mechanically important determinations, and it's probably one of the harder ones. It's easy to tell if somebody's a cyborg.
Yeah.
I did say the archivist was a cyborg because he has glasses.
Okay. We got a card in server 2. Easily could be another 3-2. Wouldn't be too bad. Not a lot of 3-2s are going to have on-scored abilities that matter. Easily could be Rashida. Excuse me. I phased out there for a second. We're charging R&D. We have an ice here that can be res. Right now, we can deal with anything that's 12 strength. That covers very few of the ice pool, if nothing, in fact. And then we have an oiler that can deal with code gates. We don't have simul chips. We don't have SMCs. We do have a corroder on the table just to deal with the Hagen that they put SADs at. And we do have that Hagen res there. So the corroder comes down. We do have 3 programs installed, 3 icebreakers installed, excuse me. So the strength of Hagen is what, 3? This should be 3, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get that pretty cheaply. The Fairchild 3 is going to be a bit of a bigger issue. You can always like throw your cards out, but they're paying 7 to get through that. They're getting 3 credits back, mind you, with Psych Mike now that's been installed. Another connection you could choose for this event. Stealing that Global Food Initiative, seeing some other cards as well. That's a really big deal that it didn't sneak through. That's Sads would have drawn that with what is assumably a Rashid in Server 2. Maybe it could just be an Ash or defensive upgrade. So not yet on game point. I'm imagining that there's no legitimate 3-pointers. This looks like it's on the sort of old Engineering the Future list, which is like 3 Vitruviuses, 3 4-2s, and then 2 5-3s, I think is the density or the distribution.
Yeah. I am disappointed not to have any Psych Mics in registered. Had I played in this tournament, that was the deck I had built.
Really?
Yeah, it's just a fun thing. I like the card, and it just doesn't usually make any decks because it isn't enough of an impact. You know, like if you're accessing 5 cards off of R&D, you're already winning. Like you don't need to spend a card on it to.
Yeah, I see what you mean. But like it basically is a Desperado in the early game only on R&D.
Yeah, and like you can just early game like Maker's Eye and make money off of it. It's sweet.
I feel like any connection that doesn't cost more than 3 credits to install, I would be just like a bit like, I'll just put this in my deck. I love the idea that the class act you get for free, which costs 4 credits, or the artist, I think is huge because you get 4 credits worth of install value at the start of the game, as opposed to like just install Psych Mike. Ooh, it wasn't Vitruvius. I don't think that changes much besides gets a card out of HQ, which isn't somewhere Longfox is really worried about threatening. But there's no real 1-pointers or like 2 1s that Sads can fast advance, let alone on 1 credit. So that agenda just makes it harder for Sads to lose, but doesn't help them to win so much.
Now, I do know, well, one thing I do know when you're building Architect Deployment Test, because the ID gives you the opportunity to res stuff for free, you do look a little bit closer at stuff like Archer and stuff like Corporate Town. Mm-hmm. And if
that's true.
Putting this in your deck, you're inclined to maybe include some Hyperloop expansions.
Okay.
And so getting up to 6 points is not totally irrelevant. Though with the GFIs in the deck, I don't know. Looking at what agendas we've already seen, it makes me less inclined to think that there's some Hyperloop expansion in the deck.
I think they might be on the like that pseudo standard old HB. What is it, 8 or 9 agenda list? Yeah. So we're going back through here. It's 10 cards to get through everything. 1 with the Cyberdelia back, 3 with the Psych Mike back, seeing 3 unknown cards. That is the Cyberdock Sandbox. Turning Wheel not getting more counters, but again, the next 3 cards, there's no agendas. Sads really needs either a DRM, which is going to be offline right now, considering we have an HQ run here, or they need the agenda in hand. So Longfox is going to take those free runs on HQ just to give it a shot. I don't think there's anything else they need on the table to be able to close the game out. So getting some accesses here is pretty good, let alone Turning Wheel tokens. Seeing 2 cards now, an Austerity Policy, that could be relevant. Let's see if they trash that for all their money. That could actually be hard. They are trashing that for all their money, going down to 0 credits. How do they make money? I guess it's just Rozekis. Seeing another card going back, it's a Surveyor. So on R&D, that's still going to be like a 7 credit play, and it'll be a trace, strength 6, trace 6, trace 6. But Sads drawing into a known card, and when we tuned in here, we had super remote, and with the winning agenda in it, I think Sads might have goofed it up and rezzed the wrong piece of ice. But now we're talking about how Longfox has the ability to crawl back. R&D interfaces have the ability to lock it out. It looks like the Jinja City grid made its way onto R&D. That Psych Mike is so good though in this situation.
Yeah, just a amazing ID. People should have played it.
Also, it's really cool. I haven't seen enough Psych Mike with Turning Wheel. Like you always see it with R&D interface, but the ability that you can spend 2 tokens to see another card and get another credit's huge. It looks like we're just going to go and pay through here. Do they have the money to pay through this? I don't even think they do. Oh, they just don't break both the subroutines, so they're gonna basically lose a Rozeki, and then they can click through the Fairchild 3 and probably end up seeing 4 cards. Has a big chance of closing the game here. They don't have the money to steal an Ikoa project, if that's something they are playing around. It doesn't look too relevant, and I don't think they're on Vacherons either, which would have been great. So they're going to be able to trash a program that's not Decoder Factor Killer. So that's either the admin or the Rozeki. And I think at this point, I think he trashed the Rozekis. Actually, no, the admin seems really good for the remote. But I guess I don't know. Hitting the FC3, choosing to click through that for their whole turn, they're still going to get some good money back here. They also break all the subroutines on on Fairchild 3 by clicking through it. So Cyber Deadly is going to give them that credit.
Oh, and that's such a good interaction.
Yeah. It's considered breaking. So now they can see 4 cards. They use the turning wheel counter, so they get 4 cards back. It's an Ash.
Oh.
So they use the turning wheel counter a bit too preemptively.
Yeah.
That's a bummer.
Well, they can res the Ash in response to the turning wheel count.
Oh yeah, you're totally right. You're totally right.
And Psych Mike indeed gains 0 because I think Psych Mike cares about cards accessed from R&D, not cards in the root of R&D.
Yeah, that's totally true. Ooh, that's huge. And now I don't think this is the window that Kyle needs exactly. Going to spend their turn purging to gain 4, which is better than clicking for credits. So now Longfox wasted their whole turn here getting through, just forcing an Ash to be rezzed. Losing also a Rozeki, which is going to matter. I think they thought they would close the game out that turn. That's so rough.
Yeah, which is a reasonable assumption.
Yeah.
The other thing, I think it was very clever of sadstug to install the Ash there, knowing that Longfox had seen the Jinja.
Yeah, we thought it was Jinja, right? I thought it was Jinja at least.
I love it's a kind of misdirection that you get to do as corp that is one of the most fun things to do when the runner has some extra knowledge but they don't have the whole picture. Using that against them is so fun, such a delight.
So MC austerity policy over there in server 3 going to get clicked around. Now clicking this means that you're off of their Cyberdex plan. I don't know how much money Sads is going to need to score the game at, but it looks like what is this?
Fascinating.
Where did that come from?
Yeah, an interesting thing about this this click for MC austerity policy plan is that it does
Yes, Billy said
it does mean that the Fairchild, you can't click through it. All right,
yes.
you just said that. Sorry.
No. Somebody, you cut out for a second. Yeah, my name's not Billy in chat, so it stops them clicking through FC3. It's totally true. They can no longer click through this. They don't have a good way to break this besides a Euler, which is really expensive. You can also you can't let this fire, right? Because the last subroutine is meaningful. But yeah, it's very difficult. They need to find another Euler if they can, but their card draw is entirely stagnated. Also, Sads is like very cleverly playing under the 5 credit window of Beth. Like, it's so wild. And like, obviously it's a good thing that Beth is not firing in terms of the fact that the corp has no money, but like Beth has been off for almost all of this game that we've been spectating, which is such a bummer for your identity to have the ability to be turned off.
Yeah, I think Beth, I believe, was only given 12 influence, and I'll read what people who played Beth and other people think, but that's probably a mistake.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it just seemed like an ability that gives you a credit a turn. Roughly.
It's a good ability, but we're just so used to every shaper having this ability on top of their regular ability, right?
Yeah.
Even some criminals sometimes.
Yeah, I'm surprised we don't see like, we do see it. Yeah, Peace in Our Time is a fun Beth card. That's cute.
Yeah, it's really good in Beth. Also, they have Guru Devinder, which is wild, but I think that's cool in the meta. That's kind of hard to predict what's going on.
Yeah.
Surveyor getting accessed on HQ, just building up this turning wheel counters. Long still doesn't have the best way of getting through the Ash, and Kyle really needs to keep needs to keep their money up to keep that Ash threat relevant. And because I think wow, they're running the remote. 2 credits to get through the Surveyor. You could, in theory, even go tag me if you want to. And there's only 3 credits to res things, but there's some pretty relevant things you could res. I don't think that Euler can get through the what's it called? The Gatekeeper. I think Gatekeeper can be an issue here. We haven't seen anything like a Satyr Adaptive Barrier, but Satyr Adaptive Barrier is going to be quite mighty. Drafter, they're just letting it fire. They don't have any way to break it, but firing this isn't that impactful, I don't think. It lets them recur an Ash in server 2, which is actually like such an issue right now for longfox. Like if the Ash is in the remote, sure, if they res it, they trash the Ash on R&D, but you don't have to res it before they get through everything. It's just kind of like another panic button. On top of that, you could also install an NGO front to a remote server and force long to either run it, or you'll get some value next turn. Even a Rashida would probably be a bit better because it lets you break through R&D lock.
Yeah, wow.
They pulled an IPO, which means that there's probably an NGO front in server 2, right?
Yeah. It's a very optimistic. That'd be an incredible bluff.
Yeah.
This also lets them install on the server, ignoring all costs, and that admin.
You're right. Ignoring all costs. That second subroutine used to not say that on Architect. It's interesting to see that here. So that admin now, 12 strength isn't good enough. You have to refresh it. That's another stim hacker too. Hitting the gatekeeper, they can get through this, I think, for what, 2 credits? Perfect. And they're going to access here, but it looks like an NGO front if the IPO has been pulled to hand. Do we know what the ice this is on the S side?
We don't. I don't think. Yeah, we don't.
Unseen card from HQ. Yeah. And there's the NGO front.
Yeah, theoretically, you could say, oh, well, I grabbed an IPO, so that I'm representing an NGO front. That could have been a really cool next level bluff, but they've already paid through the surveyor, so it's probably not worth it.
Yeah. So hey, austerity policy getting hit one more time. Long only going to have a few clicks to their turn. Now Beth is back online, going to give the free card draw, which Longfox actually needs the card draw pretty heavily here. Not a lot of ways to make money on the board. Drawing into a sure gamble here would be great. 3 stimax out, by the way, that's important to note. 2 gambles left. Even just having a decoder or a way, like if installing an oiler or a simul chip, just so you can get through the Fairchild 3 cheaply on the one final axis you probably have in R&D. But there's a second upgrade on R&D, no doubt that has to be the Jinja City Grid. And this is going to be closed off real soon. Sads is clawing back with tooth and nail, and I think they might have it here. Admin 14 is going to be a bit of an issue.
Yeah, it does cost if you want to rejig the admin and put 14 credits on it. It's pretty pricey.
It's a bit, yeah.
It costs 14 credits.
Yeah. On top of that, like, Sets can res anything. Like HQ ice now can be res. R&D ice can obviously be res. They're just building up clicking for credits. Longfox is. Austerity policy firing off here. Just not using it to fast advance, and they're not even showing like a way to pull Clot, which is something that Shaper deck could easily do. Actually, 12 influence on Beth might change that. But drawing up and installing cards, not resing what could be a change on R&D. Only 6 cards left in R&D. I have no doubt if Sads had it, they would have jammed that turn. They had the clicks to even draw and install a 5-3, if I'm not mistaken, and advance it to some extent. But 6 cards left in RD, all the agendas must be in there if Sads is not jamming.
And the decision to go for a value MCA is really cool there. Just like, look, I don't have the agenda to fast advance, but I do have a 14 strength surveyor, so maybe I'll just draw some cards and hope to close the game
put anything in there. Yeah. Captain Nice is putting this out. Sorry, go ahead.
They both have money now, so
yes.
So the Ash is a lot more interesting.
Ooh, no res here, and they're using their counters. So they did see a surveyor and border control, and that's such a big deal. Because if there's a border control in server 2, firstly, they need to figure out a way to get to the surveyor, and I don't think they're going to rejig the admin to 14, but it'll basically goof with the admin strength or bring it back down to strength. But also, if there's a border control in R&D, that like kind of helps. It's not good against R&D interface, but if they use all their turning wheel tokens, you can always react to it. But basically, yeah, Kyle just needs enough money to be able to res Ash. I don't know whether you see 2 cards after they don't res the HQ ice. Like, I think that means there's nothing in there. Maybe you have to call that if it is a bluff.
And especially after the pop on MCA austerity and not jam, it feels like there's no agendas in HQ, but there might be or there might have been one briefly now.
What is this? Is this the last Vitruvius?
Yeah.
So like,
We haven't seen Biotic, right?
no, we haven't. I don't think we've seen Biotic. Nice is talking. Captain Nice is putting this out in chat. Like, we just count the agendas: 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There's only 6 points left in the deck. We're assuming it's 3 2-pointers. Like this Vitruvius, another 4-2, and then maybe another 4-2. I don't think they're on another food. It doesn't really do much for their agenda suite. Like, I think they're on that sort of like standard HB as of your 9 agendas. The runner has to steal 4 of them.
Yeah.
So this easily is a Vitruvius, which is one of the better agendas to jam into this remote because it's easily bluffable as to be like anything else. I think all the Rashidas might be out of the game. Yeah, so I don't know. It could be the last austerity on a really big bluff, but like Long needs to close the game off. Does have finally 5 clicks with Beth. Also, Hernando Cortez is online. I don't think any of their ice is going to have more than 3 subroutines max. Nanotech being installed on Paulus Cafe. Clicking for a credit. Now, again, you have to watch out for border control. They do have a click left after this, running into R&D. We'll see what they got. 1 remote enforcement, maybe? Yeah, you're right. It could be 1 remote enforcement. Even corporate sales team. Like, I think any good like value 4-2 would just be fine in the deck.
Certainly significantly, Nanotech does have a lot of strength for both these servers, but...
yeah, like, what's the strength of Nanotech? Like, Nanotech must be way better than Atman 12, right?
Well, for breaking Surveyor 14, it certainly is.
It seems good, yeah. Here we get Fairchild 3 again, being res for 9 credits. There's that Hernando Cortez doing some work here. Now, there's no good way for them to deal with this, for Longfox to deal with this. They have no way to refresh their oiler. So this is going to be basically 14 to get through both of these Fairchild 3s. They don't have the luxury of clicking through them. This is really unfortunate for Longfox. We've also haven't seen a single Paulyg, which is something I think you just see in any shaper deck. But I think the fact that we've seen no simulchips might make them be on more of a like more stationary rig, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, they do have some cards that are currently installed that they don't have to keep. Psych Mike, probably, if you get many more accesses on R&D, you win the game, so you don't have to keep Psych Mike. That Atman 12, despite the fact that it was very expensive to get,
it's useless. It
isn't doing very much anymore.
You're right. They could break these for 5 each. It looks like the Long is just letting these fire, which is going to be an issue. So they're trashing stuff. Psych Mike needs to go. I imagine you'll see the end run over the brain damage. But you're right. They might have been able to get through this. But even if they spend 10 for just the Fairchild, let alone another 3 for the Hagen or whatever it is, I think the Ash goes through. The cool thing about the Ash, though, is like they can't spend all their money on the Ash. They need to end their turn with at least 3 credits to threaten the win out. So maybe even making us spend money on the Ash is okay. I didn't do the math, but I think you might have wanted to go through there. Yeah, because I don't think you have any other way to close the game out.
Yeah, because I do think accessing... They didn't draw extra cards last turn, right?
No, they just jammed credit.
Accessing HQ seems a little... If there's an agenda in HQ, then Longfox has been pretty unlucky not to have found it at this point.
There's only a pair of Hagens. Longfox going to end their turn, 1 card in the hand, 16 credits. Let's see if Kyle has a last Vitruvius or a way to biotic out of 4-2. If not, yeah, I think that's it. That definitely is it. Oh my god, they absolutely crawled back there.
Wow, Corpse can win games. Incredible.
That's so wild. And I think, like, do you mind? Sorry if I'm going to hit the microphone a bit. Do you mind if you could res all? I typed U in capitals. That's weird. Could res all. I would love to see what this remote is, because they did seem to insinuate that they did throw the game a long time ago by resing the drafter instead of something that probably would have ended the run. Actually, never mind. I don't want them to res all. Just because then we'll see their tech. Oh, apparently they're fine. So yeah, they could have resed the gatekeeper, which I think would have kept them out. So that's the goof that they made that caused this longer game to go on, which I'm glad. Thanks that they did, because that was really exciting to see. I think chat called that out so well. That Ash play was sick. Like I thought it was a Jinja. Did you think it was a Jinja, Sanjay?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. That was a Jinja.
That was so good.
I was. I try not to be negative about other people's play, and so I was like, they kind of forgot to res that Jinja.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I did too. I was like, what? They res the Jinja? What are they doing?
Yeah.
You know what you should do? You should in chat say like, oh fuck, I forgot to res it, and then see if your opponent be like, you can res it or not, and be like, no, I'll commit. Like you gotta act it out, right? Like you gotta commit to that.
I think you're just gonna get in trouble, because then they're gonna be nice and like, no, I insist.
Like, then you'd be like, no, I need to learn.
No. Oh, I forgot. I thought Jinja was 0 to res. My bad.
Yeah, that was great. Andre with the angle shooting, says Rob. Yeah, you gotta do it. You gotta do it. This is just a regular game. Whoops. What? Yeah, I think that's all the OKORINA tables. I think that's it for round 2.
Did I get all the results? Looks like I'm missing.
Just a fair and balanced card. Jessica, I also don't like Jinja. I'm with you on that. I think there needs to be some acceleration, but like that card, man, it snowballs.
Wait a second.
There's at least no tables going on. Yeah, just longfox and sads left. Rob, how are your games been going so far? Anyone in chat who's playing, how's the tournament been so far? I'd love to hear any of your feedback. I know, actually, Sanjay, you are collecting feedback after the tournament in like in a bigger way, right?
I am. Well, actually, the feedback I'm collecting is sort of narrow. It's just what did you think about the power level of your IDs?
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, time in the round.
Time in the round. All right. You know what? I'm going to just throw this onto a screen for now, and I'm going to mute. Actually, Sanjay, you won't be muted. I can't mute you entirely. But I'm just going to go stretch my legs, get a drink of water, just because I know we got 3 more rounds. I'm really excited. This tournament is really far, but we'll be back in a bit. If you want to, if in chat, I know I asked the question, but if you let me know how your tournament's going, we'll read them when we get back. I just need 5 minutes, so I'll be right back. Sanjay, I'll see you in a bit, huh?
Sounds good.
Shout out.
Cool. Wait, can the chat hear me? Can you all hear me? Okay, just wondering.
Yeah, chat can hear you. You probably want to mute yourself.
Okay, cool. All right.
See you in a bit, dude.
See ya. I'm actually gonna not have the chat hear me, so catch you later.
Welcome back, y'all. It is the beginning of round 3. Tables are still just popping up here. If you're just tuning in, this is the OKORINA tournament, the first ever ran by Sanjay. Sanjay does a lot of cool stuff for the community, so I'm really glad that we're gonna be part of this. We have round 3. Let's just look at the standings for now to see if there's like somebody clearly favored. 5 rounds. Top 4 is a pretty like brutal cut. And the prize support for this one's actually kind of cool. Hopefully you're all doing well. If you're just tuning in now, there's a whole tournament format that I've explained a couple times. So unfortunately, we're a bit behind on this round itself, but we'll get there. Right now, paulyg and Sokka both at 12 points. That means they're undefeated. We're looking at Glen Station. We've never seen that. I want to see Glen Station. Let's go see Glen Station. How's everyone doing? Let me check up on chat. Guy, how's it going? Super fun. Had a heartbreaking corp loss on 1 out of 3 last access possible. Sorry to hear, Rob. What else we got? Won 3 out of 4 in the losses because I conceded. Blitz rebranding team is absolutely dumb. I can believe it. I believe it. Yeah, I think that was the one that Sanjay realized would be like that could easily be a huge issue. Let's jump into a game. Sorry, Felipe, what's up? It's been a fun tournament. Just wish I was running a rush corp since all the runners are doing nothing. I'm mad at reset because I'm sitting on tables too much. Yeah, fuck. Even if you don't have a rush corp, sometimes you can just push it out really fast. I want to see Glen Station because we've seen 3 of those and I don't know what the heck they're doing. Is paulyg? No, it's not paulyg. It was Sokka, right? Yes, okay, Glen Station versus paulyg. This is table 1 for what it's worth. We're seeing Class Act, no surprise, versus Glen Station. First time we've seen Glen Station, one of the most represented identities in this tournament. It says Glen Station can host a single agenda, a single card, and you can host a card on here or add the card from here to HQ as a click. What I'm worried about there is exactly what people are doing right now is click 1, fast track, click 2, add government takeover to Glen Station. So we're basically looking at a deck with very few agendas because 6 of them are out of the deck. What can you do with that? Well, you have the ability to click to get a government takeover out whenever you need. Can you fast advance a government takeover? It is possible, but it is that could be absolutely miserable. But let me tell you, you're playing with so few agendas in this deck. I'm actually worried. There was like way more representation of this than I thought there would be. That was the one agenda that we talked about when we streamed on Thursday to be like, I hope no one plays this one because that one's not going to be exciting. So hopefully at least it is a bit more exciting. On the other side, this is the most represented identity. I don't think we're surprised. It gets you a really strong ability, 45 card minimum, and a link, but you only have 12 influence, so it's not as great as it could be for sure. We'll see how this goes. I thought an ordinary hacker girl was coming at me for Cyber Troop Battalions, a digital call, but then I scrolled up. Giving card subtypes they shouldn't have always been dumb, especially when cards interact with them. Vesper, what's up? This has been a great companion in my mechanical struggles during bike maintenance. Great stream, great format, such fresh goodness. Glad you're enjoying it, Vesper. How did the Iberian, or the lockdown, excuse me, go yesterday? What's the influence available for Glen? Really good question. I don't actually know. Glen Station, I imagine it's 45-15. 45-15. Standard. Damn, people love the cheese of the Glen combo, yeah, right? I wonder if everyone's on fast track. I imagine they are. Scoring out a hostile takeover, turning wheel getting built up, Beth Kilrain-Chang coming down for 3 influence again. That's a quarter of your influence in this deck, but a really strong ability. Again, it's worth saying neither of these players have lost a single game so far. They're coming in 12 points each, so that's definitely going to change here. We still have no idea how Sokka is looking to win the game or to close the game out. All we know is they have an ice on HQ and a government takeover over here. And paulyg has been doing a good job setting up. Why are we zoomed out so far that we have to scroll like this? What's with that? Is that because, oh man, that's because there's a card coming off the bottom of Glen Station and this game wasn't ready to do that well. So I'm just going to do this and that should be good enough. Can the card in Glen be accessed if you run HQ? No, exactly, you can't. It is hosted in space, in a space station. There's literally no way to access it whatsoever. There's going to be no interactions the runner can do to it. So that government takeover is basically just out of the game and you're playing a deck with an incredibly small agenda density. All right, and so far we haven't seen anything too flavorful, anything crazy going on besides that initial Glen Station setup. Just basic criminal stuff happening. We have some of that like burgeoning, that slow drip of multi-axis coming in, and you're going to definitely need that multi-axis here. Sokka also hasn't shown a remote that they're building, so there's no real run, like there's no pressure just yet, even without any breakers. A lot of times criminals can kind of get over the gap before they set up all their breakers and not get rushed out by having cards like Boomerang. Inside Job is a bit less popular, but still very good. And with a hostile takeover scored, in theory, you have to respect certain things like Archer. Not a really good fire here with no programs to trash. That is a very scary card for criminals to deal with. A lot of their programs are one-ofs, and there's no recursion going on. Remove government takeover and place it on the moon. Yeah, you could. I think government takeover it's not banned in this format, but you actually just can't start as that. But in theory, yeah, it's. Oh yeah, government takeover is here. I don't think you know what I'm saying. The government is now on the moon. Fast Track adds a hostile takeover to HQ, and ices up HQ. So it looks like Sokka is gonna go trade that bad publicity for that 5 credits and another point, unless paulyg can get it on HQ. And that double ice is sweet. That double ice is that sort of respect you have against Boomerang. Also, I wonder what it looks like when you start installing upgrades. Does it look like this? How can you tell there's an upgrade on HQ if HQ is a Glen station? Talk about slow decks just setting up. There's the drug dealer, a really interesting card with class act, lets you fire your ability on the corpse turn so you can get that filtered draw of the class act twice over, once on your turn, once on the corpse turn. You do have to pay a credit for it. Admittedly, that's why the Rozeki does come down at the same time, just to offset that cost, but a very strong combination. You can play this in standard format. All these cards work the same way. Install Advanced Server 2. Looks like that's a hostile takeover. Sokka up on 2 points. 12 credits to their name. Has the ability to forfeit things to Res Archer, to Res Tithonium, to Res... I don't even know the name of the HB one. I can't even make that joke. Enforcer 1.0. That landed. And paulyg still just kind of setting up here. Drawing through their deck pretty heavily. And Sokka still not showing out a win condition. Not even a remote yet. And we're not even seeing any advanceable ice. So I don't know how they're doing this. How are they doing this, Sokka? What's your plan? We haven't seen breakers yet or a restricted card. It's worth saying that in this format, currents are banned, so we're not going to see any of that corporate grant or scarcity that most people are not that excited to see. So it leaves a gap in criminal to figure out what to do with the restricted card. Not too many really great options. I think Film Critic is the one we're going to see the most often. Ingolo also does sneak in there. We've seen a lot of criminals running Forger instead of Paragon. If you're running Paragon, I think Ingolo looks a bit more enticing because you need that 2MU install. It also allows you to get more multi-axis cards in like Stargate, which is something we haven't even seen this tournament so far, which is super surprising. But I think the Rosekis might be taking up that MU, so I don't know whether we're going to see anything too big to be put down here. Drug Dealer, Beth, all good ways to clicklessly draw cards to fire the class act ability as many times as you can, or at least once a turn. Dirty Laundry on Archives, not only getting 3 credits and accessing nothing really, but also gets a Paragon trigger, which is incredibly important. Frisbee Monk, yes, the one place uncorrupted by capitalism. Space! Just you wait. My Ad Blitz Gagarin deck needs a lot of work, let me tell you that. Welcome to the chat. Daily Cast coming down, sure gamble as well. Just setting up paulyg on 18 credits, and that keeping that credit differential up matters a fair bit. It lets you play around punitive Counter-Strike if you need to. We haven't seen whether this is a Citadel Sanctuary rogue trading deck, that sort of pseudo-tag me deck. Class Act, mind you, does come with a link, kind of a throwback to old Andromeda days. So a lot of those tags, or the cards that can remove, that interact with tags, are pretty favorable. It would remain in space, if I imagine. Oh, if you APOC, yeah, it would remain in space, because this is not an installed card. This is just an ability. Your identity doesn't get trashed when you get apocalypsed. Now we're jamming for the remote, first time. All right, let's see if we have no real breakers to show, but we do have a falsified credential, seeing whether this is worth the time. It's a false lead, and I think false lead is a really big deal. You need to kind of score that. If that false lead gets scored, you're in a really bad space. It basically means that Sokka is on hard-hitting news into boom. And hey, we talked about the boomerang. We talked about the inside job, which is a lot better than a boomerang here, largely because this ice has a chance of being an archer, something with more than 2 subroutines that you care about. I guess you would just lose the Rozeki and still end on the way through, but now we start to see what Sokka's win condition is. This looks like a hard-hitting news deck, and false lead is so incredibly strong against a field that has more criminals than anything else. There's no good way to remove extra tags clicklessly. I think the best that they have is a mixture of Forager and Citadel Sanctuary, which is not paulyG's list, but the idea is that if a hard-hitting news does land, not looking that possible when paulyg has almost double Sokka's credits, they can remove some clicks, and if they remove some clicks, you won't have all the clicks to remove all the tags, and then you'll get boomed to death. Boom says do 7 meat damage if the runner has 2 tags as a double. I just want to see if Sanjay's pinging. Sorry if I'm hitting my microphone. I have a really big like shock mount for this microphone. It's arguably way too big. All right, Another card in the remote server, one inside job down. Not knowing what this is, maybe there's another falsified in hand. There's a really big chance that you'll draw the card that you need when you have Beth triggering with either the 5 clicks or the free card draw, or when you have drug dealer triggering on the corpse turn. So the chance of them finding the falsified or the inside jobs they need gets a lot higher, which is always really good stuff. Classic Fire, Boomerang installing. There you go. Let's see if this card has more than 2 subroutines that matter. I think Archer's the worst case scenario here. Bulwark is a bit of an issue, but not great in this deck. It's just a border control, which is fine. If you Boomerang that and then they do end the run, you don't get your Boomerang back, but it's just an empty server after that. Paragon firing credit, looking at the top of their card of their stack, put that on the bottom, or keep it where it is. It's just a Rashida trashing there for 1 with the bad publicity. Again, 2 bad publicity was given out with the hostile takeover. Sokka has a lot of work to do. This is not looking great for them. The best thing, obviously, that they have going is their agenda density is so low. Right now, there's 6 points out of the game, 7, 8, 9. So this is about half their agendas out of their deck. Boomerang getting shuffled back in. And now Sokka just wants another big piece of ice here, because now Boomerang or Inside Job won't get through the border control and another piece of ice, because they can always end the run. So setting up with some breakers like Corroder, really strong. You do have to watch around with like SDS drone deployments, stuff like that, which will trash your Corroder. I can't believe that paulyg has another Corroder in this deck, considering that, again, this identity only has 12 influence, 3 of them on Beth already, and that's 2 more on Corroder. So we're looking at almost half the influence of the deck just in 2 cards. I can hear myself better. This is good. I'm probably yelling the whole time. Starting to advance some ice. They're actually paying for those advancement tokens, right? How do those get there? They're paying to advance that. I'm not sure that this is exactly going to be a Red Planet Couriers deck, but it's a possibility. You'd have to do like double biotic for that to be good. But mass comms. Okay, so things are changing really quickly. This easily could be Red Planet Couriers. The triple advanced mass comms kind of means it also kind of suggests that they're on what's that grid called? The one that puts advancement counters on things, Kayambe grid, which has some really strong interactions with things like border control, as long as you get that advanceable ice up. The fact that they could advance this ice with their own ability also kind of lowers the amount of ice that this ice could be. Like, it has to be advanceable ice. So we're not looking at an Afshar on HQ. We're looking at things like Mouseless, Masfingo, Hortum, Aket. It makes it a lot easier for paulyg to face check now that the card pool of good Wayland dice is that big. Flip, what's up? How do you know how much influence to use in this format? You have to look at the list that Sanjay made. There's a list here. The people in Netrunner were really, or Jinteki.net were really cool at building an ability to be able to switch your identities with this card, but there's a lot of information that isn't put on this card itself. So what can you do for now? Manually advancing into mass comms both throws out a mass comm and is slower than clicking for credits. Super negative tempo until you draw another mass comms. I think you're right, but it looks like Sokka isn't doing too much else. It also does set up for some plays. I don't know if they're on Trickle Light or anything like that, but yeah, it's not great. Anyone have link to the list? I'll paste one, yeah. I'll paste this in here. I'll throw it onto YouTube too if anybody's interested. I should have done that a while ago. Film Critic coming down, that's a restricted card, and it's a low influence one. That means SDS drone deployment stolen won't be that big of a deal. If you also want to take the tempo loss of spending 2 clicks to remove the agenda, you can make sure that SL isn't going to get value. This diversion of funds is also a lot easier to fire because paulyg knows that none of these are border controls because Sokka did have the ability to advance them. We have all the breakers down too, and Amina is really strong. It's not as good without, you know, the 419 corporate grant sort of lockdown, but the idea is that Hortum and also Mouseless get broken for 2 credits with the bad publicity, and Sokka loses 1. So down to 9 credits, Sokka really has a lot of digging up to do, which can be pretty difficult once Amina hits the table and paulyg still has 22 credits to the name. Forgot to just drop a play on Cobra AI, so I had to repair. Oh no, really? So is this round getting repaired, Sanjay? Uh-oh. Thanks, yeah, no problem, Philip. Okay, we might have to get a repair right here, it seems. That's a bummer. Or at least we're not that far into the round. Oh, it's sorted. Okay, cool. Oh, Sanjay's good. Okay, I'm going to call up Sanjay. That's what that's about. Give me 1 second. Is this still on? Yeah. I'm just going to replace the battery before it times that halfway. So there you go. It's a Masfingo. We could tell what kind of ice that could be. So it looks like we're going to go through here with the ooh, Colossus is a big one. So Sokka down to 0 credits. So this diversion of funds is probably just going to find its way into an axis instead. And there's probably a chance that there's an agenda in there. It's turn 9 and 3 agendas have been scored. One of them was fast tracked out. There might be an agenda in hand. Again, I think a big thing is the agenda density of this deck is so much lower than we're used to. So saying these sort of things where like, oh, there's probably an agenda in there might not line up. Global Food Initiative though, that's a big deal. Even, oh my, holy shit. This deck has Global Food Initiative in it. Now, you could film critic this. I think it plays around to only game over at this point. Here, Sanjay, let me call you up. But, like, what does that change? That means how few agendas are in this deck. So, Global Food Initiative 3 times. That's only 6 points for the runner. So, 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, plus this is 18. There is a chance that the runner is going to need to score about 5 agendas out of, like, not many. Phantom Arm and Aniko. Yeah. Sanjay, I called you up. Did you get that? Hey.
Hey.
Oh, perfect. Now you're back in.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yo, have you seen this list? So, firstly,
the Glen Station one?
Yeah.
I've seen some other people. Ooh, there's a false lead. Whoa.
Yeah, so it looks like a kill deck, but like this deck is also in Global Food Initiative, which means the agenda density in this deck on the runner side is so small that the runner is going to need to steal like, I think maybe 4 or 5 out of like 7 agendas or whatever the nonsense number is.
Yeah.
Absolutely buck wild.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know if this is a good strategy. It's probably good.
I don't know. Like it doesn't do much to help you win. It just helps you to not lose, which, you know, that's obviously very important. Based off of losing is bad, that sort of idea. But like, I hear you. Like, I don't think this does anything that incredibly pushes you forward, if that makes sense.
I did have one friend of mine who is playing the tournament, and I actually don't remember what they ultimately decided on, but they said, "Hey, I have a question. Do you think it's morally okay to play a Glen Station deck where you play Government Takeover with no plan to ever score the Government Takeover?"
Yeah, which I think is everyone playing Glen Station today.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of them have the plan to later biotic rebirth it, or biotic RPC maybe.
Really? Yeah, maybe this deck does. I think you have a point.
I've seen that where they're just like trying to get 2 biotics in an RPC and close out that way. And my answer to that friend was, it is not. That's fine, but you should have a plan to close the games within a reasonable time. You know.
Yeah.
Well, that's more of a he actually, he was asking, is it morally okay? Not is it legal? Is it a good strategy? And so that was my moral answer. Like, please don't build a deck that just twiddles its thumbs for 60 minutes and then you have 5 minutes to do your runner game. Do
you have it set up right now that the person on the left side of the pairing is always corp first, or do they decide who starts as what side?
Yeah, the person on the left side of the pairing should be corp first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because in theory, like a lot of those times when I play in person, if I know someone has a long deck, or if I have a long deck, I will always ask to play the other side first, just to ensure that we end a game. Here, you don't have that unfortunately that ability.
Yeah, and I think it's such a complicated thing because on one hand, you don't want to, I guess, as a tournament organizer, you don't want to incentivize people playing decks that can't finish a round in 65 minutes usually.
Yeah.
And so it almost feels like some of the tournament structure is like accidentally punitive towards those people, and then they're like, well, it's good that it is, because they're like, oh, well, sometimes you can't finish your round. Good.
Yeah. Like, you need to be able to close a game within 2 games within 65 minutes. And if you can't, you're going to run into problems. The problem is, like, it also annoys your opponents sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's happening here, by the way. I'm just talking abstractly.
No. Yeah. And I think the thing about it is that, I think I've had some really great games of Netrunner that took an hour and a half. And the thing is just, hey, if we're all deciding to simultaneously play games of Netrunner, we need to rein in the time it takes.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so
Yeah, paulyg is actually like setting down the pressure really well. In chat, they're saying that there's a chance that paulyg could just like farm turning wheel counters off of the Mesfingo, and I don't think that's wrong. But they've been able to like enact a lot of pressure, and that's I think a big thing with the drug dealers. That like every turn they have to draw into like a bravado or diversion, and they're getting 2 draws a turn, like the drug dealer and the Beth sometimes. Well, Beth not so much anymore. So the chance of having them the pressure of what they need when they need. Sokka down to 4 credits, just got siphoned down to 0. It looks like the fact that they were playing mass comms, like I'd have to assume they're on Red Planet Couriers, because right now there's nothing they're doing that is like really tempo positive when it comes to advancing their ice. So like,
yeah,
I think Pauly is just going to bounce off and get some HQ accesses. The accesses are also pretty cheap, considering Sokka gave out 2 bad publicity by like turn 3 or turn 4.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, and the fact that they're on 4 credits, because I suppose the easiest way to get out a government takeover is biotic RPC.
Yeah, I would say so.
But that is very expensive. It's 13 credits, and
plus
you have to have 9
advancement counters. So they're halfway there. I wonder if they're on like what's it called, dedication ceremony or anything to get advancement counters on cards. Like obviously that'd be pretty good, but paulyg just getting those turning with counters. And again, if you can run R&D and see like 4 cards, you don't have to run R&D for a while, because Sokka isn't doing anything but clicking for credits. Yeah,
I did see one list while people were trying to figure out how this format, what was good in this format. I saw one Glen Station list that was on all 1-pointers and government takeover.
Yeah.
And that was the pinnacle of this is going to take a while, but it's not actually winning the game.
There's a small chance that false leads exist in this deck, because we haven't seen any punishment so far, but like there's a small chance that false lead exists in this deck just so that they can basically install a naked government takeover and then wipe the whole turn from the opponents so that they don't have to biotic a second time.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
The problem is like Beth plays around that. I guess you have to have less than 15 credits, which isn't going to be a problem considering Colossus just got rezzed. Wall to Wall, that's our first advanceable ice, good tempo card that we've seen so far. It's not like it would stay safe and remote for a while, but we did just see 3 cards from R&D, if I'm not mistaken, with the turning wheel, and no agendas, which again isn't a surprise considering right now 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 agendas are out of the game. So there's only 7 points left in assumingly all R&D. And you know what, paulyg is going to run out of cards eventually. Like that drug dealer just doesn't stop peddling drugs, and at that point in the game it just becomes a liability.
Oh, that's funny.
Like that's the problem with long games with the drug dealer. Like maybe you can be like, oh, this game's going to go long, maybe don't install it, but like it's so good to get the filter draw on your corpse turn.
Yeah, one thing I don't remember historically, did we ever have a lot of matchups between decks that were really reliant on Obokata and decks and Andy? Because it's kind of cool that you start with that huge burst of cards and you want to install them all, but also like, if you get a turn 1 biotic, just it's yours.
Yeah.
Obokata, not biotic. If you
I know what you mean. I think the meta back in the day, what would happen a lot of times against Andy is you would like naked install what's it called, a Astro script, and hope they don't dirty laundry it, and that was like a pretty legitimate play.
Yeah,
just because you're like, oh, I guess I'll set up, but they would like dirty laundry a lot of times. That was a great card with Andy opening.
Yeah, a play that I actually had to get myself out of the habit of doing when I was playing a lot of Tenon is if I'm up against Haley, I just install a Nisei Mark II turn 1 because they need to install their cards. They're gonna try and get a Haley draw, or they're gonna try and get a Haley.
It's like 3 credits Proco daily cast.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, cool, here's a Nisei Mark II. Now that's a bad play because the upside of it is hilarious, but if you protect the Nisei Mark II better, you are ultimately you're better situated to win the game because that's your plan. But it is so fun to just plop a Nisei Mark II on the table as 10. It's my favorite thing to do.
So we're 14 turns in. paulyg now checking archives. Sokka just threw something out last turn, so we're going to see what that is. Now on JNet, you can't shuffle archives. I think in real life, you largely want to do that. You can shuffle all your face down cards, so you can't tell which one was just thrown out this turn, but JNet actually keeps them in order. And that's actually, wow, yeah, there you go. Advancement counters, we have that cat, we have the Whoredom, we have the priority construction, which is 3 advancements and a free install for 1 credit, but most importantly, that global food initiative is going to put paulyg on game point with a 1-pointer left. So it looks like Sokka just doesn't have a game plan that came together in any meaningful way. So turning wheel shortcut, 1 click left. I think Pauly is just going to go in an R&D and try and see 3 cards.
It's curious why that GFI.
Actually, no. Sorry? Yeah,
it's curious why saw it at GFI. I guess if you're building up to a big combo, it always means that it's harder to store agendas in hand.
Yeah, if you have to do double biotic RPC, but there's also like always a chance that you throw out a cheeky card and then you preemptive that turn.
Yeah.
If you have installables, there's easier ways to do it where you install the agenda, install like a wall to wall over it, and then preemptive. But yeah, it's hard to tell. Sokka is now going to be at around 10 credits, which is the first time that's happened in a long time. 10 agenda scored, stolen 6 out on HQ. Yeah, it's still, there's so few agendas. Like, how many points is it? 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 16. There's only 4 points left in R&D. So I don't know if Sokka is going to be able to Reddit Planet Couriers out soon enough. Again, without false leads, that's a 4-4 of, what do we say, a 13 credit play. We've seen 2 diversions so far, so the credits are not going to swing too heavily from this point on outside of outside of Amina. And you need all those cards in hand. You also need, again, 9 advancement counters. And right now we're at 2, 3, 4. If you had a priority construction, that's another 5, 6, 7. So you can do priority construction advance and then in like 2 more turns be ready to go.
Yeah, it's interesting. If this deck is on multiple false lead, then you can actually biotic out a false lead. And it's sort of, because if you get your second false lead, you don't need the biotics anymore.
That's true.
But I think, like you were saying, they're pretty constrained because getting enough counters on those ice for
it'll stop them before anything.
Yeah.
In theory, you also, like, with enough false leads, you can do, like, install, advance, then false lead, then red plant couriers. Like, it does open a lot of options, but again, no red plant couriers are scored. The diversion's going through here, which is going to half Sokka's money. Now, if they do draw into a mass comms, we've only seen 1 so far. That's going to be a 6 credit play, technically a 7 credit play if they can afford to, or literally can advance whatever the unres ice on R&D is. But 2 clicks left. Turning wheel tokens do build up on diversion of funds. Right now, I think paulyg can just run R&D. Boomerang coming down. It's an easier way to deal with the Colossus. I think here you just have to be worried about Snare, but I don't think Snare into anything is that big of a deal. I think just Snare on its own, but again, Sokka, this doesn't scream like a Snare deck.
No, that's a wild choice. I guess there's a mild synergy that, hey, if your agenda density is low, the runner tries to get a bunch of accesses. Yeah. That's not really a synergy.
All right, let's see how many cards we're seeing. We're seeing 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, going all in. paulyg seeing 4 cards here, spending nothing on the run besides a boomerang. Axis. Thinking about it, looks like a trashable. Wall to wall, I'd assume. You can trash that for 1 credit with the bad publicity and a 4th axis. Nothing. So now either there's an agenda or hand, or it's going to be a couple turns for Sokka to draw into something, which is definitely a huge relief for them. It gives them the time to click for credits and advance cards. And again, if they never res a code gate, which so far is their plan, they can just click their way up to 13 credits, and there's nothing paulyg can do about it.
Yeah, there's no amount of turning wheel tokens that let you access space.
Yeah. Oh man, are you worried about this in the format? Like, do you do something to Glen Station?
I'll look at the feedback.
Yeah, okay.
I'm always very impressed by how degenerate people playing a deck, or how much people playing a deck are willing to admit that their deck is degenerate.
That's the excitement. It's like, hey, look at this thing I built. It's monstrous. It's like, I don't know. I take satisfaction when I build something that I think just like breaks the tools that were given to me. Like it's like, fun.
And I think, I don't know if Glen Station is, I guess all the Glen Stations are clumped sort of near the top.
Really? Okay. Yeah. I want to see the distributions for sure to see like what actually has been proven to do well.
Yeah, there's 1 Glen Station on 2 wins, 2 Glen Stations on 3 wins, and then this one.
Wow. Okay.
Or I guess 1 win or 2 wins. I guess what their runner. I'm probably not gonna, to be honest. This is bad, but I don't think I set things up so it's going to be easy to know what individual faction win percentages is, which is.
We can crunch it. No, we can just crunch it. Always be running does it. Oh, I guess it's hard to set that up. No, we'll look at it. If we send the numbers over, I can give a shot at it too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Yeah, because always be.
Ooh, it's happening. It's happening.
What is happening though?
Biotic labor, advance. Just getting that false lead at hand. Again, a single false lead doesn't do too much.
Yeah, no, they need the second false lead for that to be really powerful.
And they would have to biotic that one out. And then at that point, you're right, you don't need the red plant couriers. You can just do pull, install, credit. So it's all on that second false lead. You probably can't play Audacity in this deck because I imagine you're playing a red plant couriers in hand. Of course, like we're putting the cart in front of the horse or whatever the expression is because we don't have... Like, how many advancement tokens do you need? Like, think about this. So you pull you from space, you install, you advance. So you have 1 advancement counter on it, and then you have to move 8 over. So you need 8 advancements to do the double false lead trick.
Yeah, and that's $6.
Yeah. Yo, Lunaria, how's it going? Welcome to the chat. I haven't played this in so long. Oh, you're tuning into a really wild format right now. Turning wheel is getting mined off of that Masvingo again, and the runs, not the best thing you want on the outside. You want a bit more teeth and punishment. Not that it would matter too much with too bad publicity. We're actually going for an Axis here. I might as well. I don't think it's that no, it is a bit expensive. It's 4 to get through the Colossus, and then some amount for the Masvingo, like 2 or 3. Seeing a couple cards with the turning wheel, gonna try and scoop that out. That's 4 cards from hand. Paragon fires, successful run, gets a credit, looks at the top. Boy, yeah, we see it. We see it. It's there. It's all there. They saw the whole hand. Border control, biotic labor, red planet couriers, red planet couriers. Getting that border control and R&D is kind of nice. It kind of counters the turning wheel, but I don't think Sokka has anything else here to do besides get enough advancement counters on it because they have biotic labor. Well, they need a second biotic labor, right? If they don't get the...
Yeah, so they either need to find another false lead or they need to find another biotic labor.
Yeah.
And of course, they need to find a false lead through a not super strong but okay remote lock. paulyg probably is doing a better job counting how many cards they saw off R&D.
Yeah, I think it's fresh about now would be my guess.
Yeah.
Also,
I mean, usually you can count or you can just feel it, and it feels like it's probably fresh now.
Heart of the cards. So Ice installed on in front of HQ, which is pretty expensive. Now, it either could be a top deck from R&D or the border control. Now, the border control isn't amazing. Like, I don't think there's really strong HQ pressure runs they have to watch out besides Embezzle, which is actually worth playing around because if Embezzle goes off, I think you lose the game. But the idea is to have something here so you can't bounce off. But if it's a border control, they break that for free with bad publicity, so it's not particularly great. But still, like, at the end of the day, Sokka still needs advancement tokens.
Yeah. And they do have... Oh, that's clever. So paulyg is now saying, look, you did this with the that I have this turning wheel and I've been farming turning wheel tokens off of HQ. But you know what? If you're not resing this ice, I'm gonna go get them off of R&D.
So they're gonna see 3 cards here. Bravado on top of that. So we're see 3 cards. This easily could be it. We just need to steal 1 more agenda. Not that many left in the deck, of course, with 6 points out of play. Unknown. No dice. Trashed Rashida. So we know another couple turns Sokka can just like advance cards, click for credits, and that's all they need. They need either another biotic or somehow to draw the false lead. Both of those, one of them seems a lot easier than the other considering they're being locked out. Well, there's also a chance, like, you don't even need, in theory, double false lead. If you just put the second border control on server 3, there's no way they can get in with false lead.
True.
Right? Now, at the end of the day, you'll need the border control money, you'll need the false lead money, the border control money, you'll need the red plant couriers money, which is still more than Sokka has. But that's also another possibility.
And you'll need all that money without triggering Beth.
Yeah. You need to be under 15. That should be fine, right?
Yeah. That's fascinating. Yeah, the border controls are really cool here.
But I'm just worried that the border control made its way on the outside of HQ, which against any other card besides Embezzle, I don't think it's particularly meaningful. Unless at some point they're going to hold the agenda in hand and mass draw, and then they want to keep a way of eating turning wheel counters on HQ. Ooh, advancing the outermost of R&D, I would guess that's a code gate, if anything, and they just don't want to res it because of Amina. But it looks like they're getting the advancement tokens up, or they just drew a mass comms.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a moral judgment on Glen Station players, but you don't play Glen Station to keep government takeover in your hand.
No.
It's not a coward. Like, that's not what you're interested in. Though, losing government takeover now is no worse than any other agenda. So.
Yeah, that's true. Tobo did the math really quickly, and I think we should have. I think there's only 1 agenda left in 17 cards. There's just 1 global food initiative left, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
right? Because we're at 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 plus 16 is 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah, it's just 1 GFI and 17 fucking cards. Holy shit. paulyg, you need those turning wheel counters. We're playing casino now.
Yeah,
like, basically, if they can't get the access, like, Sokka has no time to click up to credits. Oh my god, what a game.
And I think this is why I like Turning Wheel, because
Yes.
Because it closes game. It gives. I think it's nice for corps to be able to turtle up like this. It's cool. But at the same time, I think it helps games where the agenda density is a little wonky play more fair.
Yeah, if they want to putz around, you have the ability to close the game out. And right now, like, Suck is not costing Pauly anything. Secure and Protect. Woo! What does that get you? Does that get you in a Dudadwa? It's another border control in HQ. Oh, I want the border control in server 3. I want the double border control. Why do they need a border control up there?
Yeah.
Why do they need that?
Unless they already have an agenda.
Wait, maybe they do that because what they want to do is they want to pull the government takeover to hand, and then with false lead and border control, stop them from having a chance of stealing it from HQ. So then they can do single biotic. Like, that's another option.
Right, and we know they have single biotic already. So
yeah.
Wow.
But like at the end of the day, they need 2 border controls, so that's 8 credits. They still need 9 advancement tokens, and they still need 9 more credits to play the combo. So that's
a line though, yeah.
Turning Wheel tokens, you need a mine. You need to really spin that karma. Oh man. How many? I think though, like based off of how much things suck and needs to go their way, and again, like all of this gets totally thrown out the window as soon as you draw mass comms, right? Because once you draw mass comms, it's like 1 credit for 8 or 9, right? I guess you can advance border control. So like if Sokka doesn't draw into mass comms really early, okay, we're going for accesses here. We're seeing 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's 4. No, we're seeing 5 cards. So we're seeing a third of the deck. Again, only 1 agenda. Trashing a wall to wall. I don't know if you need to do that. I don't think you trash the wall to walls. I think you want them to draw those.
I guess it lets you access fresh cards quicker.
That's true, but I think you can build turning wheel counters faster than they can see new cards.
Yeah.
But no. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I think you just want to close the game out. Yeah, no, you must be right.
Maybe. I guess you also just don't want them to. I mean, it's going to save you a click maybe later because they put a wall to wall in.
But it costs them a click.
Yeah, though their clicks are less important because they're just hoping that the top of R&D is.
Ooh, priority construction puts a card in the row. 3 advancements. We're at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1 advancement short. They still need all the money. So basically, next turn if they draw mass comms, I can't believe Sokka is dirtling this thing out. This is crazy.
Right, because so how much money do they need? They need 9 credits to fire biotic and RPC.
Yeah.
Then they need 8 more credits to res 2 border controls.
Yes.
And 8 plus 9 could be anything.
Yeah. They also need they have to watch out a bit about Amina. I don't think that's gonna matter. It's also interesting, like paulyg to some extent might want to keep turning wheel counters to check HQ, but I think they know that's double border control here, so they're just gonna run it off. They also need 1 more advancement. But the thing is, like all that money they need, if they play a mass comm, I think they're fine, right? Like a mass comm is gonna give them 2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
Yeah.
And then they have 18, which they need 17. So if they have mass comm, if they do advanced mass comms here, they can fire next turn.
Yeah, and I think I imagine paulyg is probably isn't having that much fun right now.
No, they're not. It's just a slot machine. You run R&D, see what you get. There's nothing to it. But you know what? Like also Sokka playing, like I think they don't mass comm to the last minute because as soon as you give Beth the 5th click, like it does help a lot for the turning wheel digs. But again, we're at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and they're clicking for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They're clicking for credit. They're not advancing their ice. Why weren't they advancing their ice? Do they only need 8 tokens? No, they need 9, right? Did paulyg not realize S&P shuffles R&D? Oh, I don't think you did. Did they break lock? Because yeah, Secure and Protect does shuffle R&D. I don't know if they played that at the point where lock was broken or not. Yeah, Rob is pointing that out in chat. That's a really huge deal. Because this shuffles your deck.
Oh, that's probably how Sleed snuck through.
Yeah, something could have snuck through here.
Secure and Protect was a while ago, right?
It was like 3 turns ago? It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
I think they're going in. They're going to see 5 cards here. That's half their deck. Again, the agenda could be an HQ.
Yeah. I wonder what
paulyg seeing 6 out of 9. 1 agenda in there. Turning wheel. Let's go. They can't afford to put border control on R&D, obviously. I don't even think it's that good, but like you need it for HQ. If this doesn't fire, paulyg so far back. Chrism getting trashed. Unknown, unknown, unknown. No, doesn't see it. It's in the bottom. It's in like the bottom 4, unless it's in HQ. Okay. Sokka has 9 credits. Doesn't have enough. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 advancement counters. Oh, swing and a miss. Only 3 cards left in their stack. That drug dealer is soon gonna be an addiction, not economy, right? Not value. Sokka drawing a card, going deep into their deck. How many biotics do they have? Do they just have like... Sorry?
So I think the thing about them drawing is that it does speed up the game and it speeds up maybe them losing, but if they feel like...
There's the 9th advancement. There's Mascom. They're on. This is it. But they have to spend 2 more turns, right? Because like unless they have double biotic. Okay, firstly, paulyg has 5 clicks. It should be 5 clicks. Why isn't it 5 clicks? Oh, I guess they get it at the start of turn. There you go. So they have 4, 8 plus 4, 4, 9. Okay, if they have double biotic, paulyg needs to win this turn. If they don't have double biotic, paulyg has a turn.
Yeah. Wow.
And what's their influence? So far, we've only seen biotic. If we do 4, 8, 12, we can play 3 biotics and then have 3 influence left over.
Well, they have the GFIs. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, it's probably 3 biotic, 3 GFI. That's a really good point.
Yeah. Oof, gross.
Oh my god.
So if Sokka has the win in hand, then then they are kind of obligated to go for it. Click 3, which is awkward because.
Well, you pop the false lead no matter what. Like I think you pop. Okay, so if the food is in hand, like you basically make them waste 4 clicks. So you do 2 border controls and a false lead. The thing is, like, if you don't have double biotic. But that's the problem. Like, if you don't have double biotic, you need the money. You can't risk both border controls. Like, they're already short now, right? They don't have 13 credits, so they can't do biotic, red plant couriers.
Yeah. Okay, so...
undo click. I think you can see all of R&D, but now the issue is if the food slipped through there and the secure and protect. What's happening?
Presumably they were talking and maybe they said, actually I'm not.
Running archives, that's exciting. 2 cards thrown out. Paragon fires. It's just the Colossus and the 3rd fast track. What?
So you kind of need to run now. So
you can't. You pop false lead and they have 1 click left, so they can see 2 cards of R&D. Like they can't run anymore, and they can res the border control. Like just false lead them if they have it. Yeah, they false leaded them. I think they have it. If they have double biotic, that's it. Sokka fucking scrapes this out with 6 cards left in R&D. Are you kidding me? Yeah, they have it. They're stationing it. Why am I so excited for this?
Yeah, you hate this.
Oh, I hate this. I hate red planet couriers so much. Oh, they got it. Oh man, where's the last agenda? Runner credits by click 2. Oh, so good. Oh my god. And you saw like they had Sokka knew what they were up to. They had that plan, like the false lead for value, the double like bioticing out a false lead doesn't sound great, but it is really strong. The double border control. And you know what? We don't know if the agenda was in there. Like maybe it was in the bottom 5 cards, but the thing is like they had 3 clicks. They could have ran R&D, right? And they could have seen maybe half the deck. So they had a better chance, I think, running R&D. The problem is if the government, the last food is in hand, which they don't have a shot whatsoever. Oh my god. Philip says 262 credits gained. Is that what paulyg did? Oh my god.
Well, anytime somebody has bad pub and they're running a lot, it gets weird.
Yeah, and they had like Rozekis going for a really long time. All right, so now only one of them is undefeated. So Sokka, Canadian national champion, is trying to close that game out. Do you want to see the other side of the table, or what do we want to do?
Oh, your call.
Yeah, let's see it. I don't know what they're playing. Let's see an improved tracers from the top. That'd be weird, right? Sokka's looking up TMI. That's not in the format, is it? No, it's not.
I don't think.
No, it was in the first cycle.
I forgot what TMI does.
It's like a barrier that ends a run, but when you res it, you have to do trace 3, and if they fail, it de-reses. Yeah, it was cool. So, improved tracers. All tracers have +1 strength. I think paulyG's deck might be only tracers, and the base trace strength of each subroutine is increased by 1. So that does 2 things for trace ice. It makes them harder to break with programs, but on top of that, if you can't do that, a lot of times you trace through the ice, but it also makes the ice harder to trace through. That's really strong. Like, that's a cool combination, because usually whatever one's the harder thing to do, you do the other one, and this increases both of them in maybe equal terms. We've actually been surprised. Sanjay, if I'm not correct, this is one of the most represented identities in this whole tournament, which I would never have guessed in 100 years.
Improved tracers? Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we have 3 improved tracers. So the corps are pretty split. Like, there's not a big, like, the most played corp, there's 4 of them, and then there's a few.
It's like a bunch of 3s, yeah.
Yeah. The only we do have 8 class acts. Everything else is like pretty.
Yeah, class act seems pretty good. But the thing is, like, whether class act is absurdly strong in this format, or whether class act is the closest thing to good criminal, I think those are 2 things to keep in mind. Like, I think you could basically take any standard criminal deck and just play it without, with class act and be a thing. So I don't think that like class act 100% is going to be the strongest deck in the format. I just think it's the safest.
Yeah, I think it's seeing a lot of play for kind of the same reason that Andy saw a lot of play.
It's definitely good. It's definitely really good.
Us having 8 class acts here kind of reinvigorates the old Andy debate in my mind, because the thing with Andromeda is that there would be very little for people who weren't playing when Andromeda was around, is that there would be very little criminal ID diversity, because most criminals are on Andy. And there'd be plenty of variety within those Andy decks. They'd be doing a bunch of different stuff, but they'd all be doing it from Andy just because Andy was
the best way to start. Yeah.
And so, and I think you saw the same thing with a little bit with Engineering the Future, that like, why would you do it? Why would you play any other purple deck when this is just so generically good for any plan you might have? And
sorry, I thought they hit double economic warfare. Sorry if that hurt everyone's ears.
To do.
So like, talk about a turn. Like, turn 1 Dirty Laundry Archives, then they hit a mining accident which paulyg decided to pay through, then they bravadoed HQ to provoke a res, got nothing, and then they saw an economic warfare, and then they went back and trashed economic warfare. Trashing economic warfare with embezzle is like an 8 credit swing, right? Like, you get the 4 credits and you don't lose the 4 credits. It's nutty good.
Yeah, it's like a runner. Yeah, that's great.
So talking about the Andy thing, I also think a big part of Andromeda, why she was so good, is that back then, I think thinking of more things like controlling the message and some of the like HB Moons type stacks, having the ability to set up super early and be consistently good in the early game was really important when cards like Sensei's Actor Union were a thing. Like, those games snowballed a lot off of board control, and I think that Andy was valued a lot for that. I don't know in this format whether we've seen anything to be that case besides AR Enhanced Security maybe, and maybe Rebranding Team, but I think it's definitely comparable. The ability is also good that it's not like dead after turn 1. I think Andy's really boring on that fact. Resing an Archangel just to duck the Siphon. Obviously this doesn't do anything. That's a 7 strength code gate with Trace 7 bounce a card. Criminals have no good way to deal with this outside of Femme Fatale and Boomerang or any other bypass effects. Like, well, actually no, high strength code gates Amina, you break it for 4. That's not the worst. I take that back.
I think it's 7 strength though. 7 is way better than 6, because I think Amina only boosts. It costs Amina 6 to break Archangel, which is pretty taxing.
Oh is Amina boost to 6? Okay, cool. Yeah, that's a lot better.
Yeah, because Amina's like optimized to break Fairchild 3.
Yeah.
And DNA Tracker.
So right now the daily cast comes down. This on HQ is not amazing. It doesn't stop embezzles or diversions. I'd be really impressed if Sokka's on double embezzle or anything like that. But at least now with things installed, it gets a bit worse. You could install nothing and then eventually try and bounce daily cast when it has 2 credits on it and call that value. I'm not sure if it is entirely, but it's not the worst. Now, you obviously want Archangel in front of something that ends the run, so you could always bounce the breaker to threaten it. Otherwise, it's just kind of more like an economic annoyance, or with Turning Wheel, I guess, a bit more than economic. Wait, Amina apparently breaks this for 6. That's what chat is saying. Oh, for 6. Yeah, that's what you were saying. Excuse me, sorry.
Tracers, though. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you were right. You're right, 6, it is.
Yeah. No, Jessica, yeah, you're right. Sorry.
So paulyg just cleaning up for 3. It's kind of the thing you have to do after somebody hits you with that diversion of funds. We've seen 2 bravados out. We have that dirty laundry, the daily cast clicking down the turning wheel. Sokka's in a pretty good spot. paulyg isn't pushing out yet, and it looks like we're going to see that Forger, Rogue Trading, Citadel Sanctuary DreamNet combo package, which is like, I think, firstly, really good, but specifically against an NBN matchup, let alone, as we've seen before, an NBN Trace matchup, is incredibly favored to the runner. Just having the ability to deal with tags, let alone to deal with traces. I don't know if we saw Sokka's deck. Sokka's deck might also have Hunting Grounds in it, but I might be confusing that with another deck we've seen today. Wolfwood says, don't sleep on Gingerbread. Yeah, I think Gingerbread's really good. I just don't think people put that in their deck.
Yeah, you expect a lot of improved tracers. You just bring the improved
Who did? Who expected a lot of improved tracers, right? Like, that's wild.
The thing about Gingerbread that is like disappointing about, you build this Punch-a-Tantra Gingerbread deck. Gingerbread is just not as versatile Corroder.
Sure, but it breaks all the tracers, which the tracers are across every subtype, right? Like IP block, double Archangel, you have Surveyor, Turnpike, Data Raven. Like, there's a lot. Without the improved tracers, the Archangel 7 though? Yeah, it's 7, but it's 6 to break with Amina, I think is what chat was saying. So Archangel firing here, it is 7. We are returning the turning wheel, which basically undoes the counter on it and makes this run a bit worse. Regardless, the Dreamnet's going to fire here to get a card and a credit, which is still pretty good stuff. But we haven't seen an agenda yet. There's a big chance there's one here in HQ. For what it's worth, Sokka could decide to not build any board state and just start sweeping out HQ. Oh, actually is an Axis SSL endorsement. Ooh. 9 credits to paulyg. He's going to be very happy to see that. Might be IPOs stranded in hand at this point in the game after what we're at. Oh, a single diversion. Creeper coming down for another cast. Sokka just getting that value again. That filtered Karajar, the class act. This is not much different than just in playing class act in your normal criminal deck, but it's a good card.
Yeah, and we already saw Sokka just had a very good turn 1, and drawing a bunch of cards at the beginning of your turn for free helps you do that in a big way.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to see what both people who played Andromeda or who played Class Act and played against it, what they report on how they feel about the idea going forward.
It's also really subtle, and this is something that was talked about a lot when Andromeda was like the most common criminal identity back in the day. And that's one of the big differences with Class Act is the when scored ability fires after you mulligan. So you're only going to mulligan a 5-card hand, and then the next 4 you draw or 5 you draw with Class Act are a surprise. And that was actually a suggestion I heard from a lot of people of how to make Andromeda a bit better, is that you draw 5 cards, and then when your turn starts, you draw 4. We have a daily quest taking around in this remote, so Sokka interested to disrupt that, just so paulyg doesn't get the money. Not a tracer here, but slot machine seeing event program resource. That's the best case scenario for Sokka. So that's a 3 credit loss, can continue on, and just gonna be able to trash the daily cost for 1 credit. Not too bad whatsoever.
Yeah, I think the fact that the Class Act as an ID doesn't get to mulligan with a 9-card hand was something that people mentioned when they were like, 12's probably enough, and 12 might be enough. Like, I think the Class Act decks we're seeing are pretty powerful. They're pretty good standard Crim decks.
Yeah.
But it's hard to say that that's because the Crim deck is nuts. I think Crim is at a good place in the meta in standard right now. So if a lot of the standard Crim decks are built out of the Class Act, we'd expect a lot of the Class Act decks to be in a strong place. Because I am excited about this tournament, that it is a little bit of a meta shakeup, because certainly standard Crim does not need to worry about rebranding team combo as much as the people playing this format do. They don't need to worry about government takeovers, living on Glen stations where you can never find them. So it's a little bit different, but at the same time, like, you can pull a lot from standard in terms of doing this. It calls to mind, I think one of the things I like about how things can theoretically go forward with playing more of this format is that, we can tweak things to bring things to a power level that people are excited about. And it reminds me of the lockdown tournaments that Vesper's been organizing that have also been doing that, where like after every tournament, everybody gets to like ban some cards. I think
that's true.
It's actually where I got the idea to for the prize support for this tournament.
Oh, cool.
they get to add because I was planning on adding these things anyway, but then it's like way more fun. And this is like I think it's a really cool prize, but then also I have to do less work, which rules.
So there's actually a conversation in chat when Laria is talking about improved tracers, and I think not a lot of people actually put these in their decks standard, like regularly. It's just because 3-1 specifically are not that good at making you win the game, and actually NBN does have a lot of good 1-pointers that are better than this. But the question was whether this ability is strong enough. I think it actually is pretty relevant. I think Lunaria says most tracers don't end the run. I actually don't think that's entirely true at this point. Like, we have a lot of tracers that end the run. There's like Surveyor, which is really strong. Macrophage, IP block, resistor. What am I missing? And even the ones that don't end the run, like just their ability itself can be really annoying. Even the strength boost, like it doesn't need to end the run. If you have an ice on R&D that's just like taxing to get through, it's different. The remote, you want it to end the run more often than not. Sync BRE, almost an end the run. That's a good point. There's also probably some weirder ones out of faction. Like, I don't know whether you put in a Sherlock 2.0, but there's probably some pretty strong things out there. I think Surveyor is a big deal. IP block is a really big deal. Resistor is a bit weak to Amakua, but you do have that IP block to kind of iron that problem out. I don't know. I think
Caduceus. Did Caduceus rotate?
No, Caduceus is in System Core.
Oh, nice. I love that ice.
Yeah, Caduceus is pretty good. No, I would be surprised. I think you actually can make a pretty good list. Like, we've seen also Aryabhata decks that kind of do the same idea. I also think just like Macrophage got a lot better with Cyberdoc Sandbox being printed. Like, that's what people are relying on for economy in a lot of decks. Also, Data Raven's like an end the run as far as I'm concerned. As long as you have a way to punish Tag Me, it's largely an end the run. Trebuchet would be sick. That's a spicy call. Ooh, Trebuchet is cool. 6 strength Trebuchet. It also has like a pseudo end the run ability if they can't access. Winchester, if you park on HQ. Winchester's like 4 influence though, I think. Maybe 3, but like, yeah, I guess Winchester. All right, we're icing up. Not a lot is going on, but Sokka is building a board state that's a bit more intimidating than paulyg's 10 credits and couple ice. It's still like we're going to turn 9 and only 1 agenda is being scored. I would say paulyg probably has 1 or 2 in hand. The Film Critic coming down, that's huge in the NBN matchup. It's so surprising that we say that now. Like, Film Critic used to be the Wayland / Shinteki thing, but now against NBN, you're so excited for that critic just to not deal with the Bolognas, and SSL is even more additional value, especially when paulyg isn't like rife with cash. Rain, where can I find the rule spreadsheet? Yo, Andre, what's up? Aren't there a couple of Byroid Tracer Ice? A lot of the Tracer Ice isn't particularly good with end the run. Like things like, I don't know, Ichi and Fair, like, I don't know. What's the other one? Not Ravana. There's one Vikram and like Sherlock, stuff like that.
Yeah, certainly playing an Ichi is 2 influence. Like, I think it has a Tracer subtype.
Yeah, it does. It has a Trace 1 at the end.
Yeah. And I think one of the things with improved tracers is that a lot of you have so many options for ice that gets a power boost from your ability, and a lot of it is in faction. So you can probably spend a little bit of influence on some nice taxing ice out of faction if you're so inclined.
There's Amina, and as we talked, exactly, you're right, 6 credits to get through those big old archangels, but we're charging here R&D. This is also going to be credit denial. We have a boomerang on the innermost piece of ice. We're looking at things like they don't all have to be tracers, mind you. Like, Gold Farmer is a good card regardless of what deck you put in. Slot Machine hitting hardware resource event, so you can either lose 3 or spend 4 and make the corp lose 1. Imagine when you're sitting comfortably on 29 credits, that latter option sounds a bit better. Going through to the second piece of ice, no res single axis here is going to be a Rashida, I would guess. Yeah, DreamNet fires, so the Rashida is going to be trashed for free. Sokka drawing up again. We haven't seen a drug dealer here, but mind you, like, wow, Sokka only has 14 cards left in the stack, so still a lot of stuff coming through and getting filtered through with that class act draw and the DreamNet as well.
Yeah, and I think the synergy between I guess they don't have a drug dealer, but yeah, they've drawn a lot of cards, and most of it has just been drawing cards, I guess.
Yeah,
because 1 Earthrise down, and I guess 1 deuce. Oh no, they had all 3 deuces wild. Okay, I guess that's what really sped them through their deck there.
So building up that big remote server 1, I guess that's where if they're on surveyors, where they will exist. Now, boomerang is one of the best ways to deal with surveyor. We haven't seen so far a Bagalter or any ways to deal with actual sentries. But there must be agendas in hand. Now, the problem with Pauly is like finding out the money and the window to score this when Sokka is standing very comfortably on 24 credits, 6 coming through cast, 6 coming through rogue trading, DreamNet to get additional value. Yo, 5 strength IP block is looking pretty mighty. For 2, that's a good piece of ice.
Yeah, 5 strength and a trace of 4 when you fire it.
Yeah. Now that being said, like we do have 2 link on the other side of the table, but
right.
Still, like, yeah, that's fine. You'll take it. Earthrise coming down, going to be drawing through half of Sokka's deck or what's left of it. I don't know what they need at this point. They either could be choosing not to show breakers just so they have that surprise in hand, or literally not having them. It's been wild, the slow transition we've been seeing in standard format, and it looks like it's carried over in this format of criminals running fewer and fewer special orders. And I think a big part of that was how strong account siphon was back in the day. The play was run HQ, see what ice it is, special order, install breaker, siphon, and we don't get that anymore. So a lot of like filter draw is good enough to find your breakers, at least hope you find them.
Yeah, I know one of the things that was always appealing as Gabe is that people would often, you'd run HQ and you might even have an agenda in hand, but you're just like, yeah, come on in, without resing the ice that you installed turn 1, because you don't want to tell them what it is. And yeah, it's one of the powerful things about like Eater. And one of the things that's good about Gabe is that you punish them for that.
For not resing,
yeah.
Dirty Laundry coming out. Sorry, Dirty Laundry coming out into the IP block again. We could probably trace through that cheaper than breaking. The 2 link is going to help a lot in this matchup with this many trace rays. And with 3 cards and archives, like this is actually worth seeing what this is. I didn't see if one was thrown out last turn, but if they're doing nothing but clicking for credits, you're going to learn a lot about their deck by what they're throwing out. And again, we see an SSL endorsement. You could probably film critic that. I think you have the time to do that because then whatever agenda you steal last, you hopefully have 2 clicks left to end the game. But you also see Boom and hard-hitting news. The hard-hitting news was there for a bit, but the boom means that paulyg is kind of on the economic warfare plan. We should have known that. Like, we saw economic warfare, and it looks like Sokka has just been very comfortable with 30 credits, and I think paulyg is going to end up spending more money resing than paulyg is going to have to break for a bit. And SSL hosted, so that means for 2 clicks you can deny 9 credits and another rogue trading coming down and a Crowder. I don't think paulyg has a choice here.
Yeah, this is a bit rough.
Talk about a bit rough. That's a concession. I don't think paulyg can dig out from this. Again, kind of the issue here, not jamming a lot into the remote, not forcing them to spend money so they could spend, the last 14 or whatever turns setting up, so you'll never have the credit differential. And at this point, because you're on game point, anything you jam in the remote, you really can't take that risk where you try and build a scoring remote, or that scoring window, right? Where you do install advance, they run through it, pay a Bologna, and then you jam the next one. So paulyg trying to get on that economic advantage, that early embezzle did so much work, and Sokka just kept going on that.
And I think the early diversion too on turn 2 or 3, that just like they were on the back foot, and they, like you said, they needed to pressure in the remote to cause them to spend money, and they just didn't have the ice, didn't have the money to jam. That
improved trace just hasn't been that relevant this game, admittedly, and the fact that they had to put Archangel on HQ is actually one of the worst things for them in the early game, because it meant that the embezzle and the other punishment could come through. If they had an IP block there, though, they'd been a fair bit better.
Yeah.
Where are we going now? Let's see what we got left. There's a Winnipeg pub game going on.
On these results that people have put in.
How much more time is in the round? I feel like the first game was a bit long.
There's about 14 minutes left in the round.
All right, you want to see what Adam looks like?
Absolutely.
So this is table 13, so a bit lower down in the structure, but we get to see some of the wild stuff. So Adam, we got another, Woo! I'm glad we walked into this one. So we get to see couple cool things. Firstly, Puppet Master, one of the really exciting identities that lets you just put advancements on things, and they're playing this more like a shell game trap. They also have a remastered edition. So when you access a card, if it's a Junebug, instantly you can put a Puppet Master token on it, and you can put a remastered edition token on it. They have the threat also of Trickle Light to move those tokens around if you can score something off the table, and they also do show Project Junebug, so that's really exciting. Now on the other side of the table, you're playing Adam as Dr. Lovegood. Not a really strong ability to blank. I guess right now they're just using it to blank Drug Dealer, to blank the 1 credit per turn, so it's a Rozeki worth of value. The biggest issue here is that while you still have, I think, 25 influence, you don't start with any of the directives, and they're playing Beach Party, which means their hand size is +5, so they can hold all them 10 cards in hand, which is pretty good with the Drug Dealer support. So this is going to get a bit wacky. We have only 15 minutes on the round. Cephalopod is up ahead on points, and still just things in remotes. We don't know what they are just yet. We're just tuning in a bit late. Going to be advancing things. Server 2 gets 1, Server 8 gets 1. Möbius needs to figure out what's what. All the cool Adam cards we've seen so far, Find the Truth, that definitely makes it into the deck, a really strong card. We also have Logic Bomb, which will let him deal with ice, but I don't think there's going to be a lot of really strong end the run ice, no Glacier remotes, anything like this, considering we're seeing a pop-up window, which is just kind of the value we need. Man, this is such a ridiculously wild ability, and I kind of like it. It was always such a confusion why this ended up as an NBN agenda. It made no sense. If this was in Wayland, mind you, I think it would be a really strong 5/3. That probably would make me more upset about Red Planet Couriers, so... We'll see how it goes.
I'd be surprised to see if it got play over. I think Wayland has had. It reminds me a lot of the Cleaners in that it's a 5/3 that you just love to score. It's so delightful to have, but you usually can't get away with it.
Now, it looks like Möbius is taking the angle that this kind of encourages you to do, which is you're pretty okay if you're saying if you're wizard on the other side of the table, which is if they don't run, you don't get value, which is fine because then you can score out. We're doing the Emergency Creativity Buffer Drive combo to install a Femme Fatale for free. We're putting the Femme token up on R&D. I don't know what that's setting up for, whether we're going to see something like, we see what they draw, but whether we want to see a Maker's Eye or... I can't tell, but there's R&D pressure, but oh my god, a remastered edition is getting scored. That's 2 free tokens. That means we can score out, I don't know, a 4/2. And then the last 4/2 could score out a Beal, if you can find this 3rd remastered edition.
Yeah, I have not seen this buffer drive independent or combo before.
Yo, it's really cool, right? Because you can trash a card, and then the card you trash you can basically put into your deck immediately with buffer drive because it goes to the bottom, and then you can install that card for free because it's the same cost as the card you trashed because it literally is the same card. It's super neat. It's a really cool combo. Looks like Möbius realizes they're on some sort of game point, and again, a deck with a lot of traps, one of the best places, or safest places at least, you can access essentials. So we're going through the pop-up window, pay 1, gain 1, accessing a card from HQ. I'm so excited for every access in this deck to figure out what it is. Find the Truth sees the top of R&D. Oh, that's a really good reason why you want to Fem R&D, excuse me. And the accessing a hard-hitting news. Not too bad when you're up 16 credits to 6. It also means that there is some sort of threat with tags, so psychographics or meat damage. This is a 15 influence 45 deck, if I'm not mistaken. And we have another advancement on server 2. So this could easily be the game here, right? Like if you don't run server 1 or server 2, this is kind of that threat you get into late game Techie decks where any of these could be a 5/3 and you just do advance, good game. It looks like Möbius. Go ahead.
The thing here is that if any of those are a Junebug, you can Puppet Master it and then put 2 remastered edition.
Yeah, tokens. 10 damage, which is exactly their hand size, right? Like it's perfect.
I think this Lovegood deck is like probably the only deck here that's equipped to deal with some random.
That's why you spend 5 influence or 4 influence. Wow, the black file coming down for 5. So they can't win the game by scoring agendas. So that's server 2 that is getting advanced up. We don't care about this. The only option is whether you die from death. But the biggest thing here is Dr. Lovegood can continually blank the black file.
Yeah, and once the corp actually has 7 points, they have to stop blanking it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't start accruing counters until Oh wow, we get to see some cool back channel stuff here.
So back channels, not enough clicks. Oh, there we go. Last click is the hard-hitting news. And the hard-hitting news here right now doesn't seem amazing. Like Möbius has 10 credits on top of the turn, can clear all the tags. It's going to drain their economy for sure. But that's the big thing with Blackfile is that you don't want to blanket while you've lost the game. So you just want to blanket until that point. But if you blanket until that point, you're wasting drug dealer value.
Interestingly, they will need to blank... if they want to clear these tags, they need to blank Beach Party. And so Blackfile will get a counter.
Oh, that's true. Oh, man. The single Lovegood is just like totally boxing him into a corner.
Yeah, I mean...
They're not just clearing tags.
This deck would be so overpowered if only I allowed Dr. Lovegood to play Dr. Lovegood.
Yeah, it continues on forever. This Lovegood's all the way down. Not clearing the tags. Actually going to go for the axes for neutralize all threat. Going to see 2 cards from HQ. Have to trash the first card they access. I think they're just trying to fish a boom out of there. But if there's a consulting visit, they're going to be a bit upset. They also don't die to boom for what it's worth as long as their hand size kept up. But they didn't blank the Beach Party? They blanked the Beach Party, so their hand size is no longer 10, so they died a single boom, but more importantly, they found a psychographics in hand. There's like no agenda in the game that they can't psychographics out to win with the remastered edition support, right?
Yeah, I mean, with 4 tags and 2 remastered edition things, I guess you'd have trouble scoring a government takeover, but...
Rashidi Yahim trashed in server 5. They also know the top of R&D. 2 more cards with events on it. They're just spreading them out. Just spreading them. And like, it's fine. They're going to have to take damage anyways. And by take damage, I mean discard cards from hand. So if they hit a Junebug here, it's not that bad for them. But actually, it is pretty bad because they take 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 damage, which is not lethal. Resource. Ooh, full house.
Oh, and they're going